Welcome, everyone, to the program. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. We've got so much to cover. I'm going to start with Trump's Alcatraz plan, which he is very serious about. Here we go. 5 seconds. Stand by. My name is Brian Craig. Welcome to the program, one and all. And, of course, this is where MAGA comes to talk, the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. So yesterday, President Trump said that he wants to reopen Alcatraz, and he is so serious about this, like nobody's business. Let me just play the audio of it. This is when he landed at the White House on Marine One. By the way, I read over the weekend that the new Air Force One is going to be delivered in the fall. Is that true? Is Trump going to get the new Air Force One in the fall? It just was a blurb. It wasn't anything detailed. If anybody knows when the new Air Force One is delivered, let me know, because I think I would have heard more about that. But anyway, this is President Trump. He just landed on Marine One at the White House, and he's talking about reopening Alcatraz.
Where did you get the idea for reopening Alcatraz?
Just an idea I've had, and I guess because the judges, so many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single, think of it, every single person that's in our country illegally, they came in illegally. That would mean millions of trials, and it's just so ridiculous what's happening. And it's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order. And, it's got quite a history, frankly. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
Okay. So I'm just going to run this by you, because Trump is always very, very serious with everything he says, and whatever he says, there is a purpose behind it. He doesn't just say stuff out there, right? And right now on X, two of the top trends is Alcatraz and The Rock. Remember The Rock, the movie The Rock? The Rock. Which, a lot of people believe The Rock with Sean Connery is a James Bond movie. And I subscribe to that theory. It's an unofficial James Bond movie, The Rock with Sean Connery, which is a very good movie. Haven't seen it in a long time, but I did see that in the theater. It's opening weekend, The Rock. You guys think that was a James Bond movie? I do. But President Trump is very, very serious about the reopening of Alcatraz. Now, Alcatraz closed in, was it 62 or 63? I'm sure we'll know by the end of the day, because everyone's going to be talking about Alcatraz this morning. But Alcatraz closed in 62 or 3. It is a tourist spot, but I think it's also, is it an official landmark? It very well may be an official landmark, but it's a tourist trap. And on top of being a landmark, if it's not a landmark, I would think it should be. But it is a symbol for something, a prison from which you cannot escape from. And so far as those guys that they say escaped, I don't believe they escaped. I think they died swimming to shore. It's freezing and all that. I don't think anyone escaped from Alcatraz. I don't care what they tell you or what conspiracy theory documentaries. What Alcatraz symbols is a symbol of, and I bet you that, like millennials and Gen Z, most of them have no idea about Alcatraz. And Alcatraz was made famous. We had the Birdman of Alcatraz movie with Burt Lancaster, and the Birdman from Alcatraz was a sicko. He wasn't like Burt Lancaster. He didn't even have birds at Alcatraz, if I remember correctly. But the Birdman of Alcatraz, Al Capone was there, and there's a few things that make it famous. But Alcatraz is I bet you millennials and Gen Z don't even know who the Birdman of Alcatraz was. Oh my goodness. Alcatraz is a symbol of an American prison that you cannot escape from. All right? That's exactly what it is. So what does that remind you of? A prison that is inescapable. A prison that is an escape-proof prison. What does that remind you of? I'll tell you what it reminds me of. These great prisons in El Salvador. And this is what I think President Trump is talking about doing. I think President Trump is planning on building in this country the El Salvador-style prisons. Now, Alcatraz is pretty much useless as a prison. They would have to tear the whole thing down and rebuild a whole new everything on Alcatraz Island. I kind of like the idea of them doing that and putting one of those El Salvador-style prisons on Alcatraz Island so all the liberal lunatics in San Francisco could view a prison filled with illegals. But because these out-of-control, lawless, corrupt judges that are involved in a law coup and a law insurrection against the presidency of Donald Trump in his great second term, these judges want to have a criminal trial for every one of these illegals, which will take 250, 300 years. It'll never happen. They're trying to run out the clock until Trump's term is over, and then they think they'll be back in power or something to be able to reverse everything. But I think President Trump plans on building these El Salvador-like prisons in the United States, whether it's on Alcatraz Island or out in the middle of the deserts of New Mexico or wherever he wants to put it, or Nevada, and fill these prisons up with the illegals. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, we've got Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay is not in the United States. And I believe every time President Trump speaks, no matter how troll-like it may sound, everything he says has a purpose behind it. And this is what I think he's talking about here. And I'll tell you something. We need prisons like that. We really, truly do. Those are better than the Supermax prisons in this country because these are prisons where people are really, truly afraid of. You know, these people in these El Salvadorian prisons are the worst of the worst. These are monsters, animals, subhumans. And you can tell by watching them, they are terrified in that prison that they're in El Salvador. So having prisons like that in the United States, I think that not only is that a good idea, but I also think it's something that the American people would support, especially with everything that we've been going through here. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think President Trump is planning on building these El Salvador-like prisons in the United States inside our borders? I think it'd be a great thing. Now, the civil libertarians will be all in a rage because they don't want these criminals in prison, but that's exactly what he is talking about. And it cuts through a lot of the red tape that is going on. And, what he's done, he has shut down illegal border crossings by 99.99%. That's amazing. The only reason they're not 100% is because he let 9 through for medical reasons. So illegal immigration has completely stopped from the southern border. In fact, on Meet the Press yesterday, when Kristen Welker, who's one of the biggest Trump haters in the fake news media, interviewed President Trump, she even said to the president that illegal border crossings are at their lowest point since they've been keeping records of it. Isn't that something? And that's Donald Trump, without any new legislation. Now, after the first break, I'm going to go through some of this Kristen Welker interview. Last week, President Trump totally filleted that ABC News reporter, that moron guy. And he did a similar thing with Kristen Welker over the weekend. And I do want to go through some of that because he highlighted a lot of very important things. But I want to hear your thoughts on President Trump and Alcatraz. And there's a lot of things that have happened with the president over the weekend. And I'm going to be covering a lot of them on the program today and taking your calls. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. If you're on hold, hang in there. After the break, we'll take your calls. Now, I also want to ask you this. Do you or someone you know and love suffer from neuropathy? Oh, boy. Neuropathy's the worst. I often say that, all that waterboarding they were doing on the Al-Qaeda prisoners in Guantanamo Bay that they say didn't work. If they could have given those Al-Qaeda prisoners neuropathy, they would have sung like canaries. We would have gotten bin Laden in a week, okay? Neuropathy is awful. The symptoms of neuropathy, numbness, pain, burning, dizziness, falling down, muscle weakness, the feeling of pins and needles in the hands and feet, no feeling at all. It's pretty bad. If you're suffering from that, you may have neuropathy. If you suspect you have neuropathy, by the way, go see them at Lighthouse Medical and find out if you have neuropathy. But if you do, they have a treatment for neuropathy that works and a treatment that lasts. Steve Kane was rid of his neuropathy over 2.5 years ago, and he had that treatment, and his neuropathy symptoms have not returned over 2.5 years later. So the neuropathy treatment at Lighthouse Medical works, and it lasts. Give them a call and take advantage of the no-charge consultation they offer. And remember, no matter where you're located in the United States, they can help you with this neuropathy treatment, no matter where you're located. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. That's 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. All right, we're going to take our first break of the week. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. Do you guys agree with what my theory is on Trump and Alcatraz? Let me know in the chat, yes or no. That he wants to build the El Salvadorian-like prisons in the United States. I think that'd be beautiful. How could you not support that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. Let's see. Okay. We will be back shortly. This is a radio station break. Okay. If you're on hold, hang in there. I will go to the phones after the break. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes. Welcome. Now, by the way, guys, I'm going to talk about this later on the show. You know, the My Pillow energy drink, holy smokes. It's 30% off with our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. This is the best energy drink I've ever had. I want to talk about this later. Saturday afternoon, I was doing a lot of work around the house, and it was like, I don't know, middle of the afternoon, late in the afternoon. With my schedule, late in the afternoon is 1 o'clock, but it was like, I don't know, 2, 3. And I had a bunch of stuff to do, and I had the My Pillow energy drinks in the refrigerator. I drank the green apple one, and next thing I knew, I had all this energy. It was just like, it felt so natural. Other energy drinks I have, you drink them, you get like the jitters, the shakes, and you get those crashes. You get nothing like that because there's no sugar or caffeine in Mike Lindell's energy drink. it's natural, and the energy came on natural, and I had no crashing, nothing, no jitters. I just, I drank it, and then a little while later, I'm like, holy smokes, I'm doing all this stuff around the house. It's amazing. 30% off Mike Lindell's energy drink. If you get a subscription, you can get a 3-pack free, so you can try out the 3 flavors. They're all great. Green apple, blueberry, lemonade. Just use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. My MyPillow link is in the description of the video. It's amazing. I'm going to talk about it later on the radio. Blew me away how great it was. I mean, just the energy was just... All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. In the first segment, I was talking about the Trump Alcatraz plan. He said over the weekend he wants to reopen Alcatraz, and I was telling you that I believe he wants to build in this country the El Salvador-like prisons to put the illegals in, since these corrupt judges are interfering with the deportations. All right, let's go to our phones. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Oh, hey, Mike.
This whole thing with these prisons, think about this now. Back 15, 20 years ago, what was going on? Joe Arpaio was having his tent cities in Arizona.
The chain gangs.
This is an outgrowth.
Yeah.
This is kind of an outgrowth. And remember, the liberals and the Democrats did not like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, the chain gangs and everything. Liberals don't like prisons. They like criminals. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Brian. This is LP from Loxahatchee, Florida.
Hey, LP in Loxahatchee. What's up?
Top of the morning to you. Just want to commend you. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Commend you on what you do, and you bring the truth to that country and the world.
Well, thank you.
Excuse me. As far as the prisons and all that is concerned, my opinion, I don't believe that's cost effective. I believe that they should be put on the border just like they came in and go back.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to where you come from. Right on the border. Cost effective. No aircraft, no nothing. Bus them to the border.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Well, we need more prisons in this country. And we need good ones. I mean, and there's all this stopping they're doing of the deportations are trying to do. If he puts them in prison in this country, they can't stop that.
Yeah.
I agree. I would rather them all be deported.
Yeah, I'm for that. I'm MAGA. I'm for it.
But I want you to think about it. There's no city in America more liberal than San Francisco. So can you imagine having a prison in San Francisco Bay filled with illegals? Oh, my goodness. The liberals would have meltdowns.
They definitely will. Listen, thank you for taking my call, and be safe.
All right. Loxahatchee, Florida. Take care. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Hey, Richard.
Your topic, first of all, I want to clarify something. I agree 100% with you. But then we got to look at reality. I mean, this is a reality world we got here. First of all, he's deported 150,000 in his first 100 days.
That's right.
Now, the judges don't want him to deport anybody, right?
Well, it's not just these people. There's a lot of Americans that he wants to put in prison too that are doing a lot of violent things. So he wants some prisons here that'll actually be deterrents to crime. Can't deport the Americans.
Right, but what do you got to do before you go to prison? This is where I'm going to say this is crazy. What do you got to do before you go to jail? You're going to go and have a trial.
Not the illegals. Not the illegals. Not the illegals. I appreciate the call, Richie. Debbie Downer again. I think Richie's going through clinical depression, so he wants to depress everybody in the audience. So he has like group depression. Misery loves company. These illegals, what they need are holding areas. These guys aren't going to get trials. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. This is Michael. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. How you doing, brother?
All right, Mike in Fort Lauderdale. What's on your mind?
I had a few unrelated questions. I don't know if that's okay with you.
I'll see what the questions are first.
Well, I wanted to know what was your take on reparations? Do you feel like that's something that should be dished out?
Absolutely. Victims of crime, of illegal aliens like the family of Lincoln Riley certainly do deserve reparations from the Democrats for bringing these murderers and rapists into our country. Absolutely. Is that what you were talking about? Is that what you were talking about?
Not particularly.
Oh.
What do you think about the Asian hate bill that was passed? Do you feel like
the Asian hate? When you talk about reparations, what were you talking about?
Well, just in general, reparations means to amend somebody from wrongdoing, whether that's monetary.
Oh, you mean black people getting reparations for slavery?
No, it's not limited to black people.
Well, who else would get them?
Anybody that's been wrongdoing.
Anybody that's been wrongdoing? I mean, that's like everybody. Everybody has been wronged. Everybody's been wronged at some point in their life. Huh?
But as far as what, because, reparations is not limited to, but it includes chattel slavery. So we all
chattel slavery. Let me ask you this question. You're a black man in America, right? You're in Fort Lauderdale. You're black.
No, sir, I'm not black.
What are you? You don't sound white. You Hispanic?
Yes, I would be a so-called Hispanic, correct?
You would be a what Hispanic?
So-called Hispanic. Yes.
A so-called Hispanic. What is your skin color? When you fill out an application and it asks for ethnicity, what do you check?
Why does skin color matter? There's Asians that's the color of so-called black people. So skin color is. So
are you the color? What color are you? I'm white. I'm a cracker. I'm a white boy.
Brian, right? But that's ignorant because it's Asians that's melanated. So color doesn't define ethnicity. You're a smart guy. You don't know that?
Where are you calling me from in Fort Lauderdale? The Broward County Mental Health Unit? Have you been Baker acted or something? I mean, you sound nuts.
But you just told me to define my ethnicity based off my color of my skin. That was ignorant.
No, I think you've got a lot of problems. And you're not all together there. What is the point you're trying to make? You keep mentioning Asians.
Okay. I got you, Brian. Because I just wanted to make that analogy. You tried to get me to define my ethnicity off color, but they're melanated Asians.
There's melanated Asians? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
We all have melanin. It's just a matter of how much. Some have more than others and all this stuff. What is wrong? Let me ask you. What is wrong with you that you wake up on a Monday morning and you're worried about how melanated people are?
That's not my main point of focus.
Well, what is your main point? What is your main point?
I got one more question for you, brother. I'll let you go. And with the melanin thing, if we're technical, you guys have 1% of melanin. Nevertheless, do you know when the last human zoo was closed? Are you aware?
The last human zoo? When was the last human zoo closed? My guess would be when the Democrat National Convention was over in this last election with all the freaks and nuts that were there. But no, tell me, when was the last human zoo closed?
Right. The last human zoo was closed in 1958 in Belgium. And guess who has direct descendants from that human zoo? That was 67 years ago.
Oh, I don't know. Let me guess. Who has descendants from the last human zoo? Watch Trump. It's gonna be Trump.
Well, this is public history. You can.
All right, share it with me. Share it with me. Who?
I am, if you allow me to. So in 1958, the Belgium, those horrible people.
The Belgians.
They were they were the last people and they didn't want to do it. To be forcibly have their zoo shut down with so-called African Americans. That was 67 years ago. So you guys can't say, "Oh, that was 200 years after." No, that was 67 years ago.
Well, then, so let me ask you: were you held in this Belgian zoo?
Mr. Bryan, that's irrelevant. I'm a direct descendant of people who that wasn't the question. I was held in the zoo.
Oh, you were some of your family were in this Belgian zoo?
Yes.
Who?
Yes,
like your grandma? So what do you? So what do you want? So what do you want?
Brian, do you realize I still have great grandparents that's still alive from? You do understand that, right? That was just 67 years ago.
Okay, so you have great grandparents that were in this Belgian zoo. So what do you want Belgium to do for you?
Hold on. So you telling me my grandparents that's still alive that was literally in that tragedy, they shouldn't get reparations? Is that what you're telling me, Brian?
Reparation from I find it. I've never heard of this before. I will look it up. But I find it hard. I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that in what year? What year did you say this happened in?
You can find anything hard you want.
What year did this end? What year did this?
1958.
So in 1958, you mean to tell me that the Belgians went and kidnapped black people and put them in a zoo against their will? In Belgium.
No. So listen, I don't know if
or did they have a facility where they hired people to do it? Were your grandparents paid to be in this place?
I'll wait for you to be done. You're done?
Well, I got to take a break, but I got to tell you something. You really need psychiatric help, not a psychologist in therapy. You need a psychiatrist. You're a mental patient.
I'm a mental patient because I seek for the wrongdoings to be corrected and reconciled.
I don't know why. If this thing happened in Belgium, what fault is it of America? This isn't Belgium. You need to go to Belgium and take your grievances with him. All right, appreciate the call. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour and be right back. What a nutbag. Hold on, guys. Okay, let me look this up. The human zoo in Belgium. Let's see. Okay, I found an article about it in The Guardian. Oh, let me read this. Let's see. I've got a sneeze coming on, guys. Okay, I've got the story on the zoo. I will share it. We'll be back in 10 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Jeff from Maine.
Hey, Jeff.
Boy, that last caller, there was something wrong with him, wasn't there?
Well, like I said, he's a mental patient. I mean, that's just it. Yeah.
Them trying to rebuild Alcatraz, or I think, like you said, they're going to have to rebuild it. It's not for illegal aliens because he's deporting them unless they're criminals. Because he said that if you murder an American citizen and you're an illegal, you should get the death penalty.
Yeah.
So why is he deporting them? I'm guessing there's a lot of people going to be arrested if they're going to rebuild that prison. Mm-hmm. Americans.
Yeah.
And
well,
listen.
These prisons in El Salvador, as far as I'm concerned, those are the model for prisons everywhere. What a deterrent to crime that is. It really is, isn't it? I mean, they're beautiful prisons, and the worst of the worst killers, animals, are terrified of them. That's what we need here.
That's right. That's exactly what we need here in America. And we need one on the East Coast and the West Coast, because that's how many people, if Trump gets rid of the deep state and holds them accountable, there's going to be a lot of people going to prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, Jeff, I'll give you the last word. Go ahead.
Hey, look, Trump's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. America is being made great again, and we are going to see the golden age like never seen before in America, all thanks to President Trump.
That's right. All right, appreciate it. That's right. It is the golden age. Okay, I did, just to humor that lunatic from Fort Lauderdale, I did look up this human zoo in Belgium, and there's a lot of articles about it. This is in the this is from National Public Radio. There's an article in The Guardian, too. There's a bunch of articles. So this is from NPR, which President Trump is defunding, so very liberal. And every article I could find about it in the little brief searching I did during the break were all from liberal publications, which are questionable, like The Guardian and NPR. But this is what they say in an article from National Public Radio, okay? Belgium built a mock African village at the 1958 Brussels World Fair, okay? And at the time, Belgium still controlled the Congo. It was a colony of theirs. So they brought people from the Congo to Belgium for the World's Fair. They say they thought it would be a cultural exchange, says a historian with the Royal Museum for Central Africa. Instead, they found themselves standing behind a bamboo fence on live display for Europeans, some of whom made monkey noises to get their attention. They were throwing bananas and peanuts to the Congolese, which is what I guess they call people from the Congo. Congolese are people that grew up in Belgium and Congo. The Congolese protested. They wanted to be respected and not seen as animals in a zoo, and that was in 58. So what that guy said was not true, was not accurate, okay? They had the World's Fair. They put on a cultural display, kind of like Epcot Center at Walt Disney World. They put on a cultural display of an African village from the Belgian colony of the Congo. And so go the reports, which we don't know if they're true or not. These are all liberal reports. I don't see any film of it or anything. Some people threw some bananas and made monkey noises that went to the fair. These were not people that were held in bondage. They were actually, it sounds as if they were brought here and paid to work in this reenactment of an African village in the Congo, much like they used to have in Colonial Williamsburg, right? You ever been to, or the Renaissance Fair? You ever been to the Renaissance Fair? It's a similar thing as the Renaissance Fair. It's no big deal, but this guy's whole life is built around it. All right, getting back on topic, which is our great President Trump. Oh, man. Did you guys catch the interview that he did on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker? He cleaned her clock like nobody's business. You know, last week he cleaned the clock of that moron. What his last name was Moron, I forgot his first, was it Terry Moron? I can't remember his first name, with ABC News. This week he did it with Kristen Welker. And I am going to play some of the highlights of that on the program, and we'll talk about it. But one of the things that President Trump talked about, she asked him, I'll play this clip later when I go through them, but she had asked him, will the MAGA movement survive after him, right? And that was a very revealing question from Kristen Welker, and I'll play it later and you'll hear the president's answer. But this is, now we know what these never Trumpers, fake news media, and others are telling themselves. Oh, the MAGA movement will fade away when he's no longer in office, just like the Tea Party. And the Tea Party was very active and effective for a brief period of time, and the Republican establishment was able to destroy it, and it no longer exists. The last remnants of it called themselves the Freedom Caucus in the House. And the reason that the Tea Party faded away is it didn't have a leader like we have in Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has retaken the Republican Party. When President Trump's first term was over, they were trying to trick him into starting a third party, a MAGA party. And Trump said, no, we're going to take back the Republican Party. And the media, the Democrats, and the Republican establishment laughed at President Trump and said it was impossible. And he's done it. He's taken the Republican establishment. They've been defeated. There's still some of them around, but they have been defeated. It is a MAGA party now. And the Republican voters have an expectation now of conservative results. And by the way, the big, beautiful bill that's coming up, you know, if they don't pass that bill, the Democrats, it'll be a 68% tax increase on Americans, a 68% tax increase, because the Trump tax cuts from the first term will expire. A 68% tax increase. What's that going to do to the economy, huh? All you people out there concerned about the crashing of the economy, that would destroy the American economy. But the interview that he did there, he talked about this. The MAGA movement, he has built up a party in the MAGA movement that is going to be here for the rest of our lives. You know, President Trump, there's two things that he's done, one in this term and one in his first term, that Republicans have been, there's three things, I'll tell you, there's three things big that Republicans had been promising that they never did, and he did it. Move the move the American embassy in Israel to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, from Tel Aviv. Trump did that. Republicans have been promising that for years. They never did it. Overturning Roe v. Wade. President Trump overturned Roe v. Wade. Another one that was in the Republican Party platform that I've been hearing about my entire life, Republicans have been saying we need to defund National Public Radio and Public Broadcasting, PBS. He just did that. And there's other examples too. See, prior to Trump coming down the escalator, the Republican Party never intended on accomplishing anything on the Republican Party platform. These were just carrots that they had out there, knowing we wouldn't vote for these godless Democrats if they just told us they wanted to do this and they wanted to do that and they were going to do this. We'd vote for them. And that's what it used to be. That's not going to fly anymore. Republican voters expect results and our agenda accomplished, like President Trump is doing each and every day. There's other examples too, but those are three of the most common promises that Republicans used to make that were on the party platform, and they never made a move to do it and never intended to do it. And he did it. So the Republican establishment is with Kristen Welker, the MAGA movement's going to fade away when Trump's no longer the president. Look what they did the last 4 years. The MAGA movement is larger and stronger than ever. It's not going anywhere. So you guys need to deal with that. You really, truly do. Oh, boy. Did it rain where you guys were yesterday? It was raining cats and dogs at my house. And, you know, rainy season has gotten here really late this year. You know, my daughter's birthday in March, this was like the only year that I can remember for all of my daughter's birthday. She turned 26 this year, that it wasn't raining on her birthday. And rainy season came late, but it came down hard yesterday. Oh my goodness. My landscaping and yard, they were sucking that up. They're like, oh, finally. But after a rain like that, if you've got a wet spot on your ceiling this morning, you've got a leak in your roof. And that means you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida, he can help you, whether you need roof replacement or repair. And remember, Tom Laporta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He works with every type of roofing material. He works on residential, commercial, even municipal. He can handle the job of any size, from a single-family home or a single office building to a community, an HOA with over 300 units. He can handle the job of any size. And he'll never sell you a roof you do not need. Remember that. If you just need a simple repair, he will do it. He does great work. He services both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. And since Tom Laporta is not just a roofer, but a general contractor who holds his own license, by the way, Florida law allows him to deal directly with your insurance company for the cost of that roof repair or replacement. So listen, that wet spot on your ceiling, that's a leak in your roof, guys. Take care of it. Don't be like Steve Kane and ignore it and have to get almost your whole house rebuilt on top of a new roof. All right, give Tom Laporta a call. And remember, this number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone. You can call or text him. Now, I'm going to give you his website too, LaportaRoofing.com. And at LaportaRoofing.com, there's a number there, but it's not Tom Laporta's cell phone number. So write this down, 954-604-4602. The rains are here, guys. 954-604-4602. That's 954-604-4602 for Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. Online at LaportaRoofing.com. We'll be right back. Stand by, guys. This is our last break of the first hour. I'm going to get into the interview after this. So a reenactment of a village at the World's Fair in Belgium is a human zoo. Give me a break. How many I've gone to the Renaissance Fair. I've seen Indians reenact Indian villages I've been to. People do this all the time. I've seen reenactments of battles. That's just a guy with his hand out, looking to get paid by somebody for nothing. If you're new to my channel, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe, all right, guys? I'm going to get into the interview on Meet the Press with the President after the break. Kristen Welker got her clock handed to her. Welcome, everyone. How many of you saw the Trump interview on Meet the Press? It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. The Trump interviews are spectacular, especially with these liberals. We'll be back in about 1 minute. I know the weekend went by fast. I gotta turn the air down. It's a little hot. A little hot for me. About 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. So the president was on with that idiot Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, and he cleaned her clock. I want to play some of the clips from it because these interviews are beautiful. I like the interviews that President Trump does with the liberal people better because these liberal people, like Kristen Welker or that idiot from ABC News last week, they come in with all these liberal talking point questions, and Trump just fillets each and every one of them. And he fillets them to their liberal audience. That's what I really like about it. So here's the first clip. Listen.
Let's talk about the border.
Okay.
Let's talk about deportations. Border crossings are at their lowest level ever recorded.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? By the way, that's illegal border crossings are at their lowest level since they've been keeping records. And remember what the Democrats have been telling us these last 4 years? Oh, yeah, I want to close the border. You got to pass the legislation, which was a racket. They were trying to steal money from the Treasury again. Without any legislation, he has shut down the border to the lowest number of illegal crossings since they've been keeping records. Now, I don't know how far the records go back, but that's a long time. That's our lifetimes.
Let's talk about the border.
Okay.
Let's talk about deportations. Border crossings are at their lowest level ever recorded. Is the border...
Is that good?
Is the border now...
No, she can't say that's good, right? Is that a good thing, he says? And she can't even say it.
Crossings are at their lowest level ever recorded. Is the border...
Is that good?
Is the border now secure?
Yeah, it's really secure.
It's absolutely
Isn't that good?
secure.
When you say that, doesn't that just sound good?
Look at this. What she says is it absolutely secure? So, these Democrats and fake news people, I'll play the rest of the clip in a minute, but they reveal themselves all the time, right? Is it absolutely secure? So what she wants, she's doing this thing that they do in film and in television, which is called foreshadowing. So like if there's a terrorist that gets through and does something, they want to blame him for not having the border secure after he says it was.
Let's talk about the border.
Okay.
Let's talk about deportations. Border crossings are at their lowest level ever recorded. Is the border...
Is that good?
Is the border now secure?
Yeah, it's really secure.
It's absolutely
Isn't that good?
secure.
When you say that, doesn't that just sound good? After being abused for years by an incompetent president that allowed people to pour through an open border, criminals from all over the world, murderers and insane people from mental institutions and insane asylums. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you say it's the most secure it's ever been in the history of our country? Isn't that a nice statement?
It sure is, isn't it? And it makes you feel good too, doesn't it? Oh, with again, no legend. He's got the Mexicans guarding their northern border, keeping them from coming through. The Border Patrol can do their job. They're finishing the wall. And our great Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has the United States Marine Corps protecting our southern border as well, and it's locked down. The illegal border crossings are down 99.99%. The only reason they're not 100% is President Trump allowed them to bring through about 9 illegals who needed life-saving medical treatment. Or it would be 100%. That is amazing. And notice they don't even give him credit for that, right? Don't even give him credit. Now, before I forget, I want to mention, did you see what President Trump's talking about with Hollywood? He wants to have a 100% tax on movies that are made outside of the United States. And I wonder if that'll apply to television shows as well. 100% tax on movies made outside the United States. I recently saw a podcast interview that Rob Lowe did. Rob Lowe, remember Rob Lowe? Very good actor, right? Oxford Blues, that was a good movie. St. Elmo's Fire. I like Rob. I've always liked Rob Lowe. You guys like Rob Lowe? The part of the Brat Pack. Rob Lowe has a podcast. He interviews celebrities. And he was interviewing, I don't remember the guy's name, but he was interviewing the lead actor, the star of Severance. And they were on Parks and Rec together, which I never watched that show. I didn't even know that they were on it. I had no idea. But they filmed Severance on the same movie lot that they filmed Parks and Rec. And the guy from Severance was telling Rob Lowe, he says, when we were doing Parks and Rec, that studio was so busy, it was jam-packed. He says, now it's a ghost town, except for us, filming Severance. And Rob Lowe told a story that this guy was shocked to hear, and so was I. Rob Lowe has a network game show called The Floor? It's on one of the networks, one of the 3 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, one of those. Rob Lowe says that they film his game show in Ireland. He said, and this is what, Rob Lowe's a Republican, I'm sure of it, right? Rob Lowe said that it is cheaper to fly him and their crew of 100 or more to Ireland and film the game show than it is to walk across the street on the movie lot and film it in Hollywood because of the taxes. Taxes have driven film and movies outside of this country, and very little is filmed in the United States now. And not just outside of California, outside of the United States. So he's putting a tariff of sorts, President Trump, on movie production, and I hope he expands it to television as well. Are these liberal Hollywood actors going to be against that? I saw an interview with Harrison Ford a few months ago. He said the only thing that films in Hollywood now are talk shows and some game shows, and not Rob Lowe's game shows filmed in Ireland. He says there's no production. I've seen many actors say it's been years since they filmed anything in California. Not just Hollywood, but California. What a brilliant plan. And, when American actors, American Hollywood, they want the production back. They're out of work because of it, right? All these union people that work behind the scenes, they're out of work because the movie productions have moved elsewhere and because of taxes, and they moved to non-union places. So what President Trump is talking about is beautiful and spectacular. I'm a big Star Trek fan. These new Star Trek shows, they film in Canada. It's a shame. They should be filming them in Hollywood, California, where the original Star Treks were filmed. And President Trump, that's an example. He says he wants movies made in America. That's an example of President Trump, unlike Democrats. See, when Democrats get elected, they're only representative of Democrats. They don't care about people that don't vote for them. President Trump, he even told Kristen Welker in this interview, he's the president for all Americans. When he does things, he doesn't do it for just MAGA people that voted for him. He does things to help everyone in this country, whether or not they voted for him or not. And that's what you're supposed to do in government. And I think this 100% tax on movies made outside the United States is amazing. And I can't wait to hear the reaction from these George Clooney, Rosie O'Donnell types to that. They're going to tell us that they don't want movies made in America. They want movies made around the world. I can't wait for that. It's a catch-22 for them, isn't it? Now, I want to tell you guys about the new energy drink from MyPillow. This new energy drink from MyPillow, which is 30% off with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, at mypillow.com. You can also order by phone. I'll give you the number in a minute. Saturday is the day that I do a lot of work around the house. If stuff's got to get done around the house, I put it off till Saturday. And Saturday is a very long day for me. And I had to do a lot of stuff. Clean the garage, do some work around the house, do some work on my back porch, do some work in my yard. And even on the weekends, I get up early before the sun comes up. Not quite as early as I do during the week, but almost as early. I'll wake up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. On the weekends, I know, I can't, that's sleeping in, by the way, for me. And Saturday afternoon, I don't know, it was 2 or 3, I had a lot to do. I was doing a lot of work I was pressure cleaning my back porch. I had to get all that done. And I was getting tired. I'd been up like 12 hours. And I went in my refrigerator and I got one of the MyPillow energy drinks that Mike Lindell just released. They're called Rev 7. They have no caffeine and no sugar in them. And I had the green apple. I've got the lemonade, the blueberry, and the green apple. I drank the green apple energy drink. And a short time later, I had all this energy. And it was so natural. You know, because there's no sugar or caffeine in Mike Lindell's energy drink, you don't get the jitters and you don't get the crash later either. I've had all the energy drinks on the market. I've tried them all. I've never had one like Mike Lindell's where the energy just came natural. All of a sudden, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go. And no crash after. They are spectacular. 30% off with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. If you sign up for the subscription, you get a free sample pack of each flavor so you can decide what your favorite flavor is. I like them all. So go to mypillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879, promo code Kane, Kane. That's 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane, Kane. All right, we're going to take our break for the top of the hour. 1 hour down, 2 to go. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. Back after this. We'll be back in just over a minute, guys. Stand by. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. If you're on hold, stand by. Our number is toll-free no matter where you're listening, 1-888-465-2631, 465-2631. Excuse me. You know, I want to play a couple more clips from the Kristen Welker Meet the Press interview with President Trump that aired yesterday. I watch every Trump interview I possibly can, and I've probably seen 98, 99% of his interviews. Just like I've probably seen 98, 99% of his speeches, you know. And I think most MAGA people are that way. But I really enjoy the ones that he does with these fake news liberal reporters the best because, as I said in the last hour, these liberal reporters, they come in with these fake news reporters. They have these liberal talking points that they turn into questions. And he just, you know, takes them away, you know, and explains the truth to their liberal audience. And by the way, did you see the stock market on Friday? The Dow Jones closed up 564 points. So the next time a liberal asks how your 401k is doing, you can tell them it's doing great. Dow closed on Friday up 564 points. But anyway, here's the president on Meet the Press yesterday. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll take some calls in a few minutes.
Do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Oh, I mean, you know, the only people that believe that Trump is taking the country down an authoritarian path are never Trumpers and Democrats who didn't vote for him, and they are out of power, and nobody cares about them, and they have no juice. So they feel they have no say in anything, which is true, and they're making it worse for them, the Democrats. So that's just something they say because, see, usually what happens with Republicans, when Republicans get elected and take over the majorities, in particular in Congress, the first thing they do is they start making friends and making deals with Democrats. The MAGA Republicans under Trump don't do that. There was one time when the Republicans took over the majority in Congress. I can't remember who our speaker was then. Was it Boehner? But the Republicans took over the majority in the Congress, and then they shared the committee chairmanships with the Democrats. What the heck? You know, I couldn't believe. And that's not happening anymore with MAGA Republicans. No more con jobs of making deals with these low-life, evil Democrats. So they're out of power totally, and they've never really truly experienced this before.
What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states by a lot. A lot of people were surprised. I said, I think he could win 4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won, actually, I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. But let me just say, so when you make these statements about people say this, well, you know, they had their chance at the election and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond.
Did they, you know, when Biden was president, or at a time when they had a Democrat president and controlled both houses, did you ever hear the media concerned that the Republicans didn't have any power? When the Democrats have no influence and the media has no influence, all of a sudden it's an authoritarian country.
What about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Those people are going to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. Yep. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope that they're going to be right.
Yeah, I mean, they live in another planet. And, you know, the media, because they're so out of the loop now and they have no influence, no say, they can't even get false narratives going anymore, the media, which they used to be very good at. They feel that President Trump is an authoritarian. It's not an authoritarian because you're out of power. We're out of power. We just got to suck it up. I've never heard anyone in the liberal media concerned that when the Republicans were not in the majority, that they didn't have a voice. You lose the election, you're out. That's it. And you're not doing yourself any favors defending terrorists and wife beaters. So here's Kristen Welker and President Trump talking about Canada.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
You talk about the new Prime Minister, Connie, when he comes to kiss Trump's ring and other things.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. In fact, we don't want their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't even want their energy. We have more than they do. We don't want their lumber. We have great lumber. All I have to do is free it up from the environmental lunatics. We don't need anything that they have. We're giving them. I asked.
This is actually a completely amazing statement made by President Trump about Canada. We don't want or need anything they have. And by the way, not only have they stolen our manufacturing, our auto industry, we're talking about this, they've stolen our movie business too, right? Vancouver doubles as New York City in most every television show you watch and movie, right? There's nothing that they have that we need or want. And I think this comes as a shock to Canada. All right, let me play the whole thing.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. In fact, we don't want their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't even want their energy. We have more than they do. We don't want their lumber. We have great lumber. All I have to do is free it up from the environmental lunatics. We don't need anything that they have.
I love that.
We're giving them. I asked Mr. Trudeau, who I call Governor Trudeau, I said, not Prime Minister, Governor. I said, Governor Trudeau, could I ask you one question? Why are we giving you $200 billion? Why are we subsidizing Canada? If Canada was a state, it wouldn't cost us. It would be great. It would be such a great, it would be a cherished state. And if you look at our map, if you look at the geography, I'm a real estate guy at heart. When I look down at that without that artificial line that was drawn with a ruler many years ago, it was just an artificial line, goes straight across. You don't even realize what a beautiful country it would be. It would be great. But I don't think the American public wants me to pay $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. Again, remember this.
Yeah.
We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything. We do very little business with Canada. They do all of their business practically with us.
Yeah, in fact, about 90% of the Canadian economy is based on ours. Yeah, we need nothing from them. And they're not paying their NATO dues because what President Trump said. They just expect that we'll defend them because they border us. Those days are over, man. All right. Our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Give him the business.
Hell, you're on the air. Once.
He's not going to talk about the Steve Witkoff, Eric Trump.
You got to get off the speak. I can't get off the speak. Hold on a second. Get off the speaker so I can hear you. You're very far away from the speaker. I can't understand you. Go ahead. You're on the air. Speak up. Speak up. This guy. Right, tough guy. All right, take care. He's a Trump hater, so I gave him a little extra slack, but he wouldn't do it. All right, let's go. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Wow. Man, what a great idea President Trump has. Another great idea. Opening this prison while
Alcatraz,
the judges are playing. Yeah, while they're playing the judges playing their political games, waiting for the Supreme Court to stop them. Why will we have to build places, hold them in places we don't have room for?
Well, you know what President Trump's doing here, and it's so smart, okay? President Trump, he's always looking for alternatives, right? They've launched these federal judges have launched this illegal law insurrection against his presidency. So he's like, I'll just build prison, I'll just reopen Alcatraz and put all the illegals there. I mean, he's always because he comes from the private sector where results are expected or you're out of business. He's always got a way to accomplish what he wants to get done.
Yeah, man. I mean, we need someplace. What are we going to do? Make a field and put barbed wire around? So we got a prison. Open the prison. If there's any other prisons like that, we should open them all and the rest send down to Guantanamo Bay until these judges are told that what they're doing is not right.
Yeah.
And then this is great, man. He's the smartest guy. He comes up with these great ideas.
He is an outside of the box thinker. There's no doubt about that.
Without a doubt, man.
All right, take care, Doug. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is David from Massachusetts.
Yeah, David, what's up?
How are you?
All right.
I'm just calling because I'm a person with level 1 autism.
Okay.
And something that's been concerning me is the registry that they were creating that they walked back from. I feel that the Republicans are very supportive of people with disabilities.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I feel that the Republicans in the Senate are voting against people that have diagnoses like mine. I'm graduating school
yeah. Oh, great.
with a bachelor's degree.
Awesome.
And I'm going into my PhD program. And with them attacking the Department of Education, it's really limited the type of research.
Okay, slow down a second. Slow down a second. So you have autism, and before you get into that PhD program, don't you have to go through the master's program first? But a couple things here.
No, not when it's a PsyD.
Okay, whatever that means.
Psychology.
Okay, now here's the thing. Okay, I've not heard that before, but who cares? You're worried about some registry for those with autism. I remind you, the Republicans are the ones that passed and signed into law the Americans with Disability Act. George H.W. Bush signed into law the Americans with Disabilities Act, just like the Republicans freed the slaves, gave women the vote, and everything else, okay? But people with autism do a pretty good job of their own registry. Most people in families with autism do their own registry. Did you know that?
Not with private data from my
No, because what I see, whenever I'm driving around, I can't drive a mile without seeing an autism bumper sticker on the back of someone's car, with the puzzle pieces. And sometimes it says, my child is living with, and it has the puzzle pieces and everything. So people with autism and their families spend a lot of time, like you, telling everybody that they have autism in their family. So who cares about a registry when you're shouting about it from the top of your lungs every time you're out and about and speaking? But now you said something about the Department of Education, which is a total waste of a department. What's your problem with President Trump shutting down this useless Department of Education?
Well, the thing is that I can't go into school. Right?
You can't go to school.
Listen to what I'm saying before you interject, please. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm trying to have a decent conversation.
What do you mean you can't go to school?
So when I go to school, I can't write. They give you a list of these words that you can't use in research projects and grants. And as a research assistant, they have cut my funding for my job. And I'm going to have to probably step down from my job because the funding got cut, and it's really hard for.
What was your job? What was your job? What was your job?
I was a research assistant.
What were you researching?
We were giving money to students to become addiction counselors, substance use counselors. With the substance abuse.
That doesn't sound like research. That sounds like a government giveevaway.
Well, you haven't let me finish. You asked me what we were doing.
What were you researching? No, what were you researching?
Then we take the information that we got from their student records and see if the funding we gave them to complete the test actually created more of an opportunity for people instead.
No, that's a waste of money. That program should have been cut. Hey, listen, I got to run for a break, but I appreciate the call. There's so many people out there that just have their hand out. A lot of liberals. We've heard from two today. This guy's got his hand out for this. They don't do any research. That's like a money laundering program he's talking about. There was that guy that wanted reparations in the first hour. Democrats have their money out. Their hand out for money all the time. And look at how entitled they are. It's amazing. Thankfully, we have President Trump and Elon Musk and Doge. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe, all right? What, they pay students to do nothing and then report the nothing that they did? I don't know. That seems kind of lame. Seems kind of lame, doesn't it? We'll be back in just over a minute. So stand by. Ratlid, you can call me. The number's pinned in the chat and ask about that. I'll answer it on the air. We'll be back in a minute. Idaho, welcome. The toll-free number is pinned in the chat. And you're all welcome to call me. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Vicky. I'm calling from Texas.
Hey, Vicky.
You said somebody called about reparations this morning. Well,
yeah.
I want reparations too, but I want it to be from the politicians. And I want everything seized from them and distributed back to the people that they stole from.
Yeah, all that money that Doge has, like when they rented out Caesar Palace and arenas for private parties with taxpayer dollars.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we should all be paid back for that. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, well, thank you.
I appreciate the call. Oh, the free doorbell camera offer from Sloman's. You know, what a great Mother's Day gift for you guys to get Mom. Even if you are married to your wife and she's a mom in your house, or maybe Mom doesn't live with you, but she's elderly and lives on her own, this free doorbell camera offer from Sloman's is amazing. You know, with the Sloman's doorbell camera, you get a notification on your phone whenever there's movement at your door, and it's really convenient. It's a security feature, obviously, but it's really convenient because you never have to get up to see who's at the door anymore, no matter where you are. You could be at Publix, the mall, you could be on a European vacation, or you could just be sitting in your living room and don't want to be bothered. It's absolutely amazing. And they're going to give you a free doorbell camera offer that connects to your cell phone with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Sloman's is also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. You get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, plus you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Give them a call. Take advantage of this. It's a great offer. 1-833-283-5050. That's 1-833-283-5050. 1-833-283-5050. All right. So let me get back to that guy that called about that. Did that sound like research to you? Paying students to do something and then they report back what they did or didn't do, and we don't even know if they really did it. I mean, sounds like a scam to me. This was a very interesting question. Now, if you're just tuning in, playing some of the highlights, President Trump did an incredible interview on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. She came in with all these liberal talking points that he just totally blew away. This one's one of the more revealing moments by her of herself and where the fake news media and the Never Trumpers are in their mind with this question to President Trump.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican, to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
Okay, so that takes down one of their talking points, that he's not planning on running in 2028. But you never know. They can change the Constitution. The Constitution has been amended many times to give women the right to vote and things like this. It can be done. But he went through a list of great people that he has. Now, this part here, listen to this. This is where their minds really are. This is the second part to that clip.
You have built a political movement that has transformed the Republican Party. It's transformed the country.
Yeah. And, the MAGA movement, I call it a civil rights movement, and the largest civil rights movement this country has ever seen, because, there have been other civil rights movements, Martin Luther King's great movement, and others. But all those movements were for African Americans or women or gays. The civil rights movement of President Trump's, the MAGA movement, is leading all Americans to freedom from the bondage of this out-of-control government that we've had in Washington, D.C. It's the largest civil rights movement in the history of the United States. All right, let me play the whole clip, though, because she reveals something.
You have built a political movement that has transformed the Republican Party. It's transformed the country, quite frankly.
Political movement in history, MAGA. Make America great again.
When you look to the future, Mr. President, do you think the MAGA movement can survive without you as its leader?
Yes.
Okay, now, this is their fantasy. Okay, when Trump's term's over and he's no longer in White House, the MAGA movement will fade away. That's not going to happen. We have a MAGA Congress. We have an entire MAGA movement. MAGA is here for the rest of our lives and beyond.
President, do you think the MAGA movement can survive without you as its leader?
Yes, I do.
What gives you...
I think it's so strong, and I think we have tremendous people. I think we have a tremendous group of people. We talked about a number of them. You look at Marco, you look at J.D. Vance, who's fantastic. You look at, I could name 10, 15, 20 people right now just sitting here. No, I think we have a tremendous party. And you know what I can't name? I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray.
Okay. Now, this is an interesting thing, because he says, look, we have a great bench of a lot of people that in the Republican Party. I mean, in the MAGA movement, to be presidents and vice presidents and governors and senators and all of that. But notice he said Marco and JD. He said Marco Rubio first. And if you look, when Waltz got this nomination to be the UN ambassador, President Trump is having Marco Rubio do double duty. He's Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. When USAID was exposed by Elon Musk and Doge, Trump had Marco Rubio do double duty then too. Secretary of State and running USAID temporarily, like now. And when President Trump needs someone in his cabinet, that he keeps leaning on Marco Rubio. So my question to you is, does it look to you as if Marco Rubio is President Trump's favorite right now to succeed him to be the second MAGA president over J.D. Vance? I have nothing against J.D., but President Trump keeps giving these extra duties to Marco Rubio, not J.D. And he said Marco first. You know, JD could be vice president again. You know, I don't see Marco Rubio as the vice president under a millennial. I just don't see that. Do you? But does it look to you as if President Trump is thinking Marco Rubio instead of JD Vance? Now, remember, the base of MAGA in the leadership movement is Florida, right? Marco Rubio, Floridian. President Trump, Floridian. Kash Patel, Floridian. Pam Bondi, Floridian. Mike Waltz, Floridian. You know, this is the heart of MAGA is Florida. And the only reason I say that, he said Marco's name first, and he keeps leaning on him to do all these things. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. If you're on hold, hang in there. Our number's toll free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll be right back. Okay. Stand by if you're on hold, guys. Welcome. If you're new, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe, all right? We'll be back in less than a minute, guys. If you're on hold, hang in there. I got a couple more things I want to share, and then I'll take some calls. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free and pinned in the live chat. All right? You can see the number right there. Oh, by the way, guys, I put a link to my wife Kathy's YouTube channel in the description of the video. So if you guys look in the description, you'll see that link. If you guys could go there and subscribe to that, that would be awesome. Check out her videos. I'd appreciate it. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. I have been getting DMs and even text messages. I don't know how some of these people have my cell phone number, but a lot of people have my cell phone number. But I've been getting DMs and text messages all morning from listeners who were telling me that the online feed, like on iHeartRadio and the True Oldies FLA website, is down and they can't hear the show there. It is being looked at and worked on, okay? There's the feed's obviously down. They are working on it. And, I want to thank all of you for doing that. It may, sometimes with radio stations and even internet audio feeds, they go down sometimes, right? Stations are off the air for a few minutes, things happen. Anytime there's any interruption in this program, my phone and DMs just blow up from people telling me about it. And sometimes people call on the air. No one's gotten on the air about it today, but it happens a lot, especially when the radio stations go down. And I have friends that work at other radio stations, and they tell me, Brian, why do you do that? Why do you let people do that on the air? Why do you do? And I said, it's amazing. I said, do you get? And I'll ask them sometimes, when your radio station goes off the air or your internet feed is interrupted, does anyone call you and tell you? They said no. I said, yeah. I said, we're the only radio station where people call and say, hey, my listening has been interrupted. And mostly what they listen for is, how else can I listen? Right? And that's really amazing. And I do appreciate that, guys. It means a lot to me. And Steve, that's really a cool thing. And that's why I don't hide it. My friends at these other radio stations, either they have no listeners or their listeners don't care enough. They just go listen to something else. But not you guys. You're loyal listeners, and it's greatly appreciated because, this is the longest running radio show in the state of Florida, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. And this is the longest running radio show because of you and the listening audience. You support our great sponsors. Our listeners and our sponsors is why this is the longest running radio show. So you guys, it's greatly appreciated by me, Steve Kane, and management at our radio station. It's just it's an amazing thing, and it's pretty cool. I really enjoy it. Okay, so what I've been sharing in the last couple of segments are some highlights from this incredible interview President Trump did with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press over the weekend. I mean, he just filleted her every time she asked some question. And I love it because, her audience is a liberal audience. And a lot of these things, an NBC audience, just like that moron from ABC News last week, the audience to NBC News don't hear the truth about Trump. All they hear are liberal talking points filled with hate about President Trump. So this is a new narrative. This next question she asked the president about, this is a new fake false narrative the media have been trying to get off the ground the last few days about President Trump and the deportations.
Mr. President, should lawful residents of this country start carrying paperwork with them when they leave their homes?
I don't think that'll be necessary, but would you...
See that one? Are Americans going to have to start carrying paperwork? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. This is not the Soviet Union. You don't need your papers, okay?
Mr. President, should lawful residents of this country start carrying paperwork?
Well, I'll take that back. I can't leave the house without my driver's license. If I don't have my government document, what happens to me? And I get pulled over. Well, it's up to the discretion of the officer, isn't it?
Mr. President, should lawful residents of this country start carrying paperwork with them when they leave their homes?
I don't think that'll be necessary, but what you're not saying is that many people have been killed, maimed, badly hurt by illegal immigrants that came over that are from prisons and from jails and from mental institutions, and they're hurting our people. And if we don't get them out, we're not going to have a country for long. We need honest media, and we need walls. We need to have borders. And by the way, I built a lot of walls, and if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be able to have those. We would not be able to have the kind of numbers if I wasn't successful in building hundreds of miles of wall.
Yeah, and this is another example with the left. When do the left ever advocate for Americans? They're always advocating for foreigners, it seems, right? Even the fake news media. But they're trying to get this thing going that you got to carry your citizenship papers around. But in some instances, you do have to carry. Now last week, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show Friday, or I do so many different things between the radio show, my podcast, and YouTube. I lose track of what I said when and where sometimes. But there was one of those media watchdog groups looked at the coverage of Pete Hegseth and said that the mainstream media have given Pete Hegseth 100% negative press coverage. There hasn't been one story that wasn't negative about Pete Hegseth. And Pete Hegseth has been instrumental in his military leadership with getting the illegal border crossings down to 99.99%, because he sent his U.S. Marine Corps to the southern border, and they're doing a great job, aren't they? Absolutely. But this is Kristen Welker asking the president about Pete Hegseth.
Are you looking for a new Secretary of Defense? Mr.
No,
President?
not even a little bit. No. Pete's going to be great.
His job is safe right now?
We're doing a fantastic job against the Houthis, who like blowing ships up and watching them sink.
That was ships with a P, the President Trump said.
In the ocean. We're hitting them very hard. No, he's doing a very good job.
His job is safe right now?
Totally safe.
Sorry, liberals, Christian Welker. It wasn't that long ago. Well, I guess before Trump came down the escalator. A lot of you that are new to the Republican Party, and by new, I mean the last 10 years, we've had 10 years of winning since President Trump came down the escalator. You don't know what it was like to be a Republican in the dark days before that, okay? The way it used to work, like these stories, if this were the George W. Bush administration or any other Republican administration before that, this Pete Hegseth coverage, he never would have been Secretary of State. Those false allegations that cheating woman made about him at that event at the hotel, that would have done him in. And if he made it past that, all these others. What the media used to do is they would report a totally false, slanderous story about a Republican. And they would start it on Monday. And by Friday, they'd step down or resign from office. That's just the way it was. Okay? They're trying to do this now to this guy running for lieutenant governor in Virginia. Have you seen this story? They found some website that has like some, gay porn connected to him to it. He says it's not him. Somebody could have put that up there. I don't know if it was him or not. But this is what they do. And they put all these slanders out there about Pete Hegseth, starting with that fake allegation that they knew the truth about, the signal chat BS and everything else. And they're in shock that not only is he still the Secretary of Defense, but he's not even in hot water with President Trump. They have not accepted that they have no juice anymore, and they can't get their false narratives going anymore. And that's just the way it is. Bill O'Reilly described it best when it came to the mainstream media. Okay, he was talking about the cable news, but this is the case with all the fake news media. And Bill O'Reilly said this. He said, the fake news, the cable news, they're not going to go away. They're going to be like background noise. They're just not going to be relevant anymore. You know what? I got to tell you guys about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I am wearing pants right now that are over 10 years old. I don't throw too much away. I outgrew some of my clothes as an adult because you gain weight, and I just fold them up and put them in the back of my closet. And luckily, I did that. I have a bunch of pants and jeans that I never got rid of that didn't fit anymore at the back of my closet, and I'm wearing a pair of them now because I've lost so much weight thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. And I've been hearing from listeners in this audience who have been losing a lot of weight too. And, the number one comment I get is, I look younger. You look younger and thinner. And, like right now I'm wearing this really cool Gulf of America t-shirt my wife got me. And this is a t-shirt that is a size smaller than I was buying before. It's so nice. And I had to buy, because I'd lost over 35 pounds. And this is the first t-shirt I've bought that I bought a size smaller. And it's so nice down in the belly area not having a baggy t-shirt. It's just flat on my stomach because I've lost my belly. I have a flat stomach now. I have the body that I had when I got married, and I'm coming up on my 29th wedding anniversary. It's absolutely amazing. And I want to emphasize that I'm doing zero exercise. I'm eating foods I would normally eat. And like yesterday, I had Chipotle yesterday. Okay, so I'm eating foods I would normally eat. Saturday, I went out and had Pollo Tropical. Okay, so I'm gonna have Wings Plus one day this week. So I'm eating foods I would normally eat. I'm not taking any prescription medications like Ozempic or anything either. It works. Give them a call. Now, no matter how much weight you want to lose, I lost over 35 pounds. Maybe you want to lose 20. Maybe you want to lose 120, 150 or more. They can help you. Give them a call. And when you call Coastal Weight Loss Secret, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. All right. My name's Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. I got a couple more sound bites I want to get out before the top. But if you want to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. You can take issue with anything I say. You don't have to agree to call. I don't know how anybody could disagree with anything I'm saying, but yeah. Stand by. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm trying to get through some of these sound bites before the top of the hour. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 1-888-5 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Now, last night, when President Trump left Florida on Air Force One, he did one of those press briefings on Air Force One, which I love those. I love those. And these reporters, here they are, they're on his plane, and they're asking these stupid questions. And there were some, though, points that President Trump made, as he always does, that the liberals in the media don't like. Now, this one is about Mike Waltz.
He was fine, and where he is, he'll do a good job. I don't consider that. I didn't lose confidence in him. Why did I lose confidence? He's going to the United Nations. To me, I think it's personally, if I had a choice for myself of doing, I'd rather have that job than the other. He resigned on his own. He didn't resign. I just moved him. There's no resignation. You people are so bad. You're trying to make a big deal out of something that's not. You are so bad. That's why nobody watches you anymore. Who are you with? Who are you with? You with who? First. I didn't know there was such a.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That whole false narrative, and they're still correcting it, that he fired Mike Waltz, and he said he didn't. He just moved him. He just moved him. He didn't fire him. And, we were talking about this on the show last week. If you've lost confidence in someone as national security advisor, do you send them for that prestigious UN appointment? Of course not. But the media are still reporting that false narrative. And you know what? Even though the president's corrected it at least twice, this will be the second time, they still report that false narrative. Now, these clips here, I'm going through these quick because I want to get these out before the top. That clip and the next couple I'm going to play are from the Air Force One unscheduled press conference on the way back to Washington from Mar-a-Lago last night.
What's your timeline on the rest of your judicial nominations, and what's your criteria when you're picking judges?
What's your nominations?
The future judicial nominations for the federal judge positions.
Well, we're putting them in rapidly. We're trying to get very good ones. I mean, we need judges that are not going to be demanding trials for every single illegal immigrant. We have millions of people that have come in here illegally, and we can't have a trial for every single person. That would
No, you can't. It'd take 200 years, and what it's so obvious what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to force a trial for each illegal so that none of them will be finished and he'll be out of office, his term will be over, and then they figure, then they'll all be here. It's not going to work that way. He's not going to go along with it. He's going to deport them. But they have all of these scandals. Now, I was talking earlier about how President Trump is, if you're on hold, hang in there, guys. There's a lot to cover. A lot has happened, and we only have a few minutes till the top, and I'm trying to get through as many of these clips before the top as I can because they're very, very important. I was talking earlier about how President Trump accomplished these things that the Republicans have had on the official Republican platform for years, and they never intended to do, right? And here's some of the big ones he's done, right? That the Republicans never intended to do. Overturn Roe v. Wade. They talked about that for years. Trump did it. Defund and dissolve the Department of Education. They've been talking about that for as long as I can remember. Trump just did it. Okay? Defund National Public Radio and PBS. He just did it. Okay? And those are three big things. Three big things that the Republicans never intended to do, but he did. Move the Capitol, move the embassy in Israel, the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. He did that. I mean, there's so many things that Democrats have been talking about doing. They might as well be Democrats. That Republicans have been talking about doing that not only did they never do, they never intended to do it. And those are big ones. Even the border. He shut down the border. Republicans, prior to Trump, were always talking about stopping the illegal immigration. Trump just did it on a dime. And these things I listed are huge. Without any legislation, without any government programs or bills being passed, he just did all of these things. Now, this next one is another big one. And again, this is on the Air Force One presser yesterday. This is about going after, with the military strikes on the Mexican drug cartels.
So Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartels. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. Absolutely. Because they are horrible people that have been killing people left and right, they've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000 people last year to fentanyl and drugs. They're bad news. Yeah, that's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They're evil. And, we had 300,000 people die last year from fentanyl and all of that. We had millions of people brought into this country that shouldn't be here. The cartels brought them in. So if she said that I offered to do that, she's 100% right.
Okay, so yeah, he's going to go after the cartels with the military. Republicans have been talking about that forever. And what do we find out? Maybe the Republicans in the 80s were involved with the cartels running of drugs. Who knows? But we're going to wake up one day and we're going to find out that there's been military strikes against the Mexican cartels. And he laid it out right there. All of these things I've listed in the last few minutes are some of the biggest promises that the Republican Party has been making prior to Trump without any intention on accomplishing them. But they're big, and they hold them up as vote for us. We're going to do these things that we're never going to do. Trump has basically accomplished the entire Republican Party platform, at least the major aspects of it. And he continues to do it all the time. All right, let's see here. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. It's probably going to be a really short one because I see that we're near 8 o'clock now.
No, we got time. As long as you don't use profanity.
I will not use any profanity, I promise.
Okay.
I just wanted to weigh in on the idea of reopening Alcatraz.
Okay.
I think it's a terrible. For one, it was shut down in the 60s because it was falling apart, and it's going to cost 3 more times to even run than a regular prison. There's no power. There's no water. It's just a political stunt.
Really? Okay, slow down right there. Slow down. You are correct. Alcatraz closed, I think it was in 63. I might be off by a year, but I think it was 63. Okay.
It was in the 60s.
But hold on. But President Trump, prior to getting into politics and television, The Apprentice, what was his job primarily, his profession?
Grifter?
No, President Trump's profession.
A grifter.
Come on. A builder. So he could bulldoze everything there and build a new prison. He's a builder.
You have to require Congress. You know that, right?
You mean the Republican Congress? Okay, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Well, where are you going to come up with all the money? It's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions.
We could say, look at all the money that Elon Musk found that you Democrats were ripping us off. That's all you're griping about is rebuilding Alcatraz? That's your biggest beef?
We already have security prisons that cost less to run than spending all that money on that. I thought
No, it would be great to have. It's such a great idea to have a detention center on Alcatraz Island filled with illegals and the bay of the most liberal city in America, San Francisco. I think it's a great idea.
I thought we're save money, Brian, not spend.
Oh, we would save money getting them off the street. You don't want to have. You're arguing against prisons now. You don't want to have prisons.
A prison that doesn't even have any water.
You must have something. I said he would rebuild it. They wouldn't use the old prison. You said you were concerned that there would not be enough time. Hold on. You began this call. Slow down. You began this call by saying, I don't know if you got enough time for everything I have to say. That's what you got? You don't have something better than that?
Brian, you know I'm right.
About what?
You know I'm right.
About what? What are you right about?
It's a bad idea. It's a waste of money.
What's a prison to put criminals in is a bad idea? What, do you want the criminals to live at your house?
Brian, it doesn't have any power or water.
You would bulldoze it and build a new facility with a new power plant.
It's a national park that is crumbling.
You would rebuild it. How many times I got to say? Did the talking point not give you a response to that part? Oh my goodness. The Democrats are sending out very incomplete talking points. President Trump's primary profession is that of a builder prior to politics. You bulldoze it just like he wants to do in Gaza, and you rebuild it. That's it. That's a really weak argument. And don't you love how fiscally conservative the Democrats are? All right, listen, 2 hours down, 1 to go. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Democrats are arguing against prisons now. I'm Brian Craig. Our number's toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll be back right after our top-of-the-hour break. Don't go anywhere. Weak. Hey there, hold on, Scott. All right, hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to have to conference Scott in for a minute. Hold on. Just wait a minute, though. We'll see when we're coming back. I'll know when we get back. Did you hear that last call? What an idiot. Oh, I'll tell you when.
I haven't heard anything.
Oh, well, I'll tell you when.
You're going to have to fill me in.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, the internet feed's down. They're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hold on, Steve. Hold on. Okay, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, you know the story about what Trump said about Alcatraz? Do you know that story?
No.
Oh.
You give me the Reader's Digest version of what we
I'll do it when we get back. When we get back, I will. But we're going to have Scott at the top. Okay.
You good, Scott?
Not yet. We will in a minute. Okay, I'm going to conference Scott in now, Steve. Hold on. All right, Scott, you there?
Yeah, good morning,
we got it. We got a little less than a minute, so stand by.
Okay.
Steve, you there?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right, stand by.
Oh, good morning, Steve.
All right, hold on, guys.
Good morning.
Just in case they turn us on early. 30 seconds. Hour number 3 has begun. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here as well, and we're going to check in with Scott from Cut My Kilowatts, who's going to tell you how he can save you money every month for the rest of the time you live in your home with Radiant Barrier. Scott, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Radiant Barrier, we've been doing it like 15 years in South Florida. You actually got us started in the business down here, and it literally cuts the AC runtime, 40 to 50% on your house, because we stop the sun's heat right at the roof and reflect it back out the roof. It's like putting your house underneath a big shade tree. The other thing that, we've been hearing about all the roving blackouts going on through Europe. If your power goes out, your house is going to stay 10 or 15 degrees cooler than it would if it didn't have Radiant Barrier.
Wow,
which
really?
Would make it bearable, to stay in. Maybe not ultra comfortable, but you wouldn't have to leave if you didn't have a generator.
You know what? I'll tell you, Scott, I'd never considered that before, because how many times do you lose power when there's a hurricane? Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
I never thought about that before. What a great benefit.
Well, I mean, it lowers the temperature of the garage 10 to 15 degrees. When we put it in there and there's no AC, it's going to do the same for the house. That's why you're saving so much on the bill. The other thing is, right now, you're getting winter pricing, because we can do the work, 2 or 3 times faster, because it's just not so excruciating hot. In the next 15 to 30 days, it's going to turn into where the attic never cools down at night. We get there in the morning, it's still 85, 90 degrees, 100 degrees.
Wow.
So the timing to get the savings is now, and I mean you're getting Radiant Barrier for like $1 a square foot.
Yeah, see what happens is, Scott, because we're not in that hot time in the summer yet. They get the work done faster because they can be in the attic longer. So Scott from Cut My Kilowatts, he's saving on the labor cost, and he's passing that savings on to you. Now I'm going to give you his number. No matter where you're listening to me, he can help you. This number rings directly to Scott's cell phone number, okay? So you can call or text, and believe me, he calls back faster than anybody I know, ever known. 954-939-1500, 954-939-1500. That's 954-939-1500. All right, Scott, we'll talk later in the week.
Hey, thanks. Nice talking to you, Steve.
Take care, man.
All right. All right. Take care. And me too. Bye-bye. All right. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he's a good MAGA guy, Scott, too. Don't forget that.
That he is.
Oh, man. Yeah, I tell you. A lot has happened over the weekend with our favorite president, Donald Trump. And the call I got right before the top of the hour break was a great call from a liberal, because the liberals, President Trump, a lot of times he says things, and the people that hate him, because they hate him so much with their Trump derangement syndrome, they give a hard time about whatever he says or does. Remember last week, they were outraged about the color of his suit at the Pope's funeral, that it was blue. I mean, Biden was wearing a blue suit there. That didn't seem to bother. I mean, when they're giving a guy a hard time for his suit color, they used to do that with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan used to like to wear a brown suit sometimes, and I can remember the press just would go after that brown suit of Reagan's. It's so stupid. Over the weekend, they had another little color problem with President Trump. Yesterday was May 4th. And right. Star Wars fans, it's become almost a national holiday for Star Wars fans, May 4th. It's called May the 4th Be With You. You get it? May the 4th be with... May the Force be with you, for those who don't know. May the 4th be... So the White House put a picture up on X of President Trump as dressed as a Jedi holding a lightsaber. And the lightsaber he was holding is red. A red lightsaber. And the media and the liberals were going nuts about this. They said, who has a red lightsaber? That, of course, is Darth Vader. And they're giving a hard time to the White House and President Trump for this mistake that he has this red. The reason his lightsaber was red is because Republican red, like my MAGA hat's red. That's why, right? If he had a blue lightsaber like Luke Skywalker's a liberal jerk, okay? Mark Hamill. They'd say, oh, look, Democrat blue. when they're giving the guy a hard time for his suit color and the color of his fictitious lightsaber. Exactly. I mean, that just tells you he can't do anything right? I mean, they were also giving him a hard time over this meme that got circulated of him dressed as the Pope. And, the thing about the Pope meme, sorry about that. Okay. The thing about the Pope meme, he didn't even create that. To give him a hard time about that. So when you see the pettiness that they've gotten to, I mean, he's doing so many good things, I guess, they can't think of anything bad. So yesterday, did you catch any of the president's press conference yesterday on Air Force One, Steve?
No.
Oh, you missed it. You missed a good one. You know those pressers he does standing up in the doorway of Air Force One?
Right, sure.
And that doorway he's standing at, the press are not allowed beyond that spot. So he goes back to where the press are sitting and he takes and he had a great press conference, and then he landed, got off Marine One at the White House and had another press conference. So he had 2 press conferences yesterday on top of the Meet the Press interview. And when he got off of Marine One, they asked him about these corrupt Democrat judges, right? That are trying to stop the deportations. And he said he's been thinking about reopening Alcatraz to put the illegals in it. Okay? And
that's an interesting thought.
Isn't it? It's a pretty amazing thought. So Alcatraz closed down in like 1962 or 3. Like I said, it's either 62 or 3. I used to be obsessed with the Alcatraz when I was a kid, Steve. The Birdman and that Clint Eastwood movie really did it. The Escape from
Burt Lancaster.
Yeah, with Burt Lancaster and Carl Malden was the warden. Remember? And then they had that movie with Clint Eastwood, The Escape from Alcatraz. So when I was, and then of course, the Rock with Sean Connery. Remember The Rock?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, but Alcatraz. So when I was growing up, Alcatraz was a big deal. So I know it closed down in 62 or 63. I think it was 63, and obviously it's a tourist trap, and it's not really a prison anymore. And they closed it down in 63. They say because it was getting old. So I get a call from this liberal. The liberal talking points are out, and they're weak. They need to hire some new writers for the Democrat talking points because the talking points they have are pathetic. Liberal calls me up right before the top of the hour, and he says he's got the talking point but not the response, right? And he says they closed it down in the 60s because it was old. There's no electricity, which I don't know if that's true because tourists go out to Alcatraz every day. So there is some electricity. He says there's no water. They got to have toilets for the tourist. So they can't do it. And I just pointed out to him that President Trump's a builder and he could do to Alcatraz what he wants to do to Gaza, bulldoze it and build a new facility. That's it. And I kind of like the idea of having a migrant prison in San Francisco Bay, in the bay of the most liberal city in our country. I think that sounds like a great idea. A great idea. But what has President Trump done with that statement? He's got the liberals arguing against prisons. They don't want prisons anymore. I mean, they... And that's what that caller was doing, and that's what the conversation was about. He's arguing against prisons. So they can move into your house if you want to take them in.
Every issue.
But I mean, they just can't.
And he plays them like a fiddle.
It's like a game to him. It's like with my cats. He plays with these liberals like I play with my cats. You just throw a little string out there and they grab it. And they're fascinated by it. And the Democrats are just done. We are watching one of the two parties just dissolve before our eyes. And I love... Well, let's take a call or two before the break. What the heck? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Scott. I'm calling from Kansas City.
Hey, Scott. What's up?
Well... I'm liking and wondering where the direction's going to go with this new media landscape insofar as, and I'm following your subject here, and it's been on my mind. In the past, and it's the recent past, the GOP has always put forward the dignified gentleman suit and tie guy who runs for president and falls down with grace. That would be Dole. That would be McCain. That would be Pierre Delecto, not Pierre Delecto.
Mitt Romney.
Romney. Yeah. And what the media, the traditional mainstream media would do, would fling little mud balls at their perfect suit, such as for Romney being the most recent, the dog on the roof.
Yes.
Bindings of women. Little narrative mud balls that would stick to them, and they'd eventually fall down and lose with dignity. Now that's all gone. That's
it's so funny to watch. Like in this Meet the Press, I played the clip earlier when President Trump was on with Meet the Press. The Meet the Press is, are you thinking of replacing Pete Hegseth? And he says no. She says not at all. He's not in the slightest. She was shocked that all this mud they thrown at Pete Hegseth and none of it stuck to him. She was like, "What do you mean? We've been reporting negative stories about him for 100 days. How can you not get rid of him?" That was their attitude. Yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that the president is going. And that was another thing that they did in the past. They'd go on these Sunday morning talk shows, Meet the Depressed, Deface the Nation, This Is Weak with George Snopolopticus, and skewer them there.
Yeah, all right. Hey, listen, we got to run. I appreciate the call. You know, he was somehow falling off the stage. I remember when Bob Dole was running for president, giving a speech, and he literally fell off the stage. Remember that?
I do.
Oh, my goodness. He was giving a speech, Bob Dole. He was walking on stage, and he walked right, and it was high up, and he, boom. And he was really old at the time, right? And he got right up and continued. Like he didn't even miss a beat. But they made fun of him because he fell. But he got right up and finished the speech. A guy at his age, if take a fall like that, I couldn't believe. But he had a very good response at the time, which is a little dated. He says, remember what he said? He said, I was doing that new liberal dance, the Macarena, and that's what made me fall, and I lost where I was. It was pretty funny. All right, anyway, listen, we'll take our first break of the third hour. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. All right, we're coming back. Stand by. 30 seconds.
Okay.
We're back. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. It is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Trump did something that the Hollywood liberals are in a real catch-22 about. I want to tell you, this is going to blow your mind, Steve. But I want to recommend something for you that you got to try. Mike Lindell has a new energy drink. You got to get it. It's 30% off at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And if you get a subscription, you get a trial pack for free of the different flavors so you can find out which ones you wanted. Now, I had tried these just to taste them a couple weeks ago, and they taste great. They come in green apple, blueberry, and lemonade, and they're all fantastic. They taste great. And I have had every energy drink on the market. And I have not had an energy drink in a long, long time. And the Mike Lindell My Pillow energy drink, Steve, that blew me away. Saturday afternoon, it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'm doing a lot of work around the house. I'd been up like 12 hours, and I was exhausted. And I went and grabbed the green apple energy drink of Mike Lindell's. And, you know, they're caffeine-free and sugar-free, so you don't get the jitters or the crash after. And I drank it. They taste fantastic, by the way. And a little bit of time went by, and next thing I knew, I was doing all this stuff around the house. I was like, I didn't even realize it. The energy just came upon me naturally. I've never had that experience with it. I've had them all. The Red Bulls, the Monsters, they all make me feel kind of funny. Not Mike Lindell's. The My Pillow energy drink is called Rev 7, and it's 30% off with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. The 3 flavors all taste great. So lemonade, blueberry, and green apple. I'm a green apple guy. I love green apple. You know, green apple Jolly Ranchers and everything else. So I'm a green apple guy, but I got them all. They taste fantastic. No crashy, no jitters. You can also order by phone toll-free 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane, Kane. All right. So, President, you back with us, Steve? Okay. President Trump, I mean, there was so much news that we got yesterday from the president. It was amazing. And one of the things he announced yesterday, and this is the one where Hollywood is going to be freaking out. He is proposing a 100% tax on movies made outside the United States and imported to the United States. Now, let me tell you guys, Hollywood's out of business. They make nothing in Hollywood anymore. You know, and I was talking, Steve, in the last hour. This was, you know, Rob Lowe, you know, the actor Rob Lowe. He's been in a lot of great movies. Outsiders, you know, I mean, I don't know. He's been in a lot. I like Rob Lowe. And he's a Republican. And he's not a closeted Republican. And but he's still in his Hollywood circles. And he does a game show that's on one of the networks, Fox, ABC, one of the networks. It's a game show. I've never watched it, but I've seen ads for it. And he said that they filmed that game show on network television in the United States in Ireland. And he said that the taxes and regulations to film in the United States, not just Hollywood, are so high that it's cheaper to send him and it's a whole Hollywood crew, by the way, that they fly to Ireland. They're not using an Irish crew. They fly over 100 crew members. He says it's cheaper to fly me and the entire crew of over 100 to Ireland and film an entire season in Ireland than it is to walk across the street on the lot and film it in Hollywood. And Hollywood is out of business. They make nothing in Hollywood anymore. And
the movies are dead.
Yeah, it's a ghost town. And I hear actors and Hollywood people complaining about this all the time. And it's not just the actors, it's the crew. You know, the costume people, all these people. Right. They some of them have not worked in years because there's no work. So they're making all of the movies all over the world, in particular in Canada. Canada has stolen our movie and television industry. Vancouver doubles as New York in so many movies. It's amazing how much Canada stole our auto industry. They've stolen our manufacturing industry, and they've stolen our movie and television industry as well. So President Trump wants a 100% tax. He didn't say anything about TV shows. He just said movies. But maybe he could expand it to television. But he said he wants movies made in Hollywood again, right? He wants to make Hollywood great again. And he has that commission that he put Mel Gibson on. And and I forgot who else. Who's the other actor he put on that commission? But it's Mel Gibson and somebody else in charge of this Hollywood commission. What's Hollywood going to do? Are they going to, I saw Tom Hanks recently complain about this on an interview that he did about how all the productions moved to other countries. And they hire British actors to do American accent. What are these Hollywood liberals going to say now? Are they going to oppose Trump on this? A 100% tax on movies made outside the United States? I thought that was one of the most brilliant things. I thought that was one of the most brilliant things Trump said, because what he's done, and he's taken his biggest enemies, and now he says, I represent you too. I don't just represent MAGA people. Even Rosie O'Donnell in Ireland, she doesn't want Hollywood to be making movies anymore. That's a real catch-22 for these lefties in Hollywood.
It is.
All right, well, let's take some of these calls. It's just brilliant. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. Hey, Uncle Steve, IB. Good morning, y'all. This is DEA. Hey, swell.
What?
This is beautiful. Think about Robert De Niro, Madonna,
exactly.
At the Oscars. Think about Jimmy Kimmel. Think about how they use Hollywood against Trump to feed the fuel, like Taylor Swift, of the fire, not knowing that they're dealing with the fifth level chess master and using tariffs to now use it back on them, the boomerang effect. And that money is coming now. You hit him in the pocket. That's where it hurts. So all of the things they said, like Madonna wanting to go and bomb the White House, I love how you hit them in the pocket. They thought they can get away from Hollywood.
Well, they have this idiot George Clooney. Okay, he's out there bashing Trump all the time. I'm waiting for the first reporter to ask George Clooney about President Trump's plan to bring movie making back to Hollywood. Is he going to be against that? I mean, my goodness. That's great. I can't wait for that.
If you thought we turned a lot of red counties in California, wait until the primaries come, because Governor Newsom is the one who's rooting the state. He's the one not allowing.
Well, now you hit on it. Why did he do this? Governor Newsom is running for president, right? Newsom plans on he's going to run. He plans on getting the nomination. Right now, he's the favorite. So is Governor Newsom going to run against the Trump plan to have 100% tax on foreign-made movies to bring movie making back to Hollywood? I mean, it's more about Governor Newsom than anybody. President Trump is always 5 or 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
The only thing he could do right now to counter that is to like get rid of all those taxes and the reasons why they left Hollywood in the first place, and give it more attractiveness to come back, because we're going to win on the tariffs. We're going to win, baby.
I like the tariffs on the foreign movies. All right, take care. Appreciate the call. But that's another example of Trump being 5 to 10 steps ahead, right? They're two leading candidates the Democrats have. Newsom. That's a big problem for Newsom right there, right? Because he's going to have to oppose it. He can't agree, or he'll agree with it to bring the production back to his state. So Trump's about to take down Newsom over that. He just took down Whitmer last week by calling her up there and giving her a kiss on the cheek, and she gave the speech with him, right? And then she was in the Oval Office with him. So they're two front-running candidates who are the most reasonable. I'm not saying that they're reasonable, but so far as Democrats go, the most reasonable candidates they have are Newsom and Whitmer. He took down Whitmer with the kiss on the cheek, right? And she's praising Trump. And now this 100% tax on the foreign movies, that's his first move to take down Newsom, right?
Trump is always one step ahead.
Yeah, so they're going to be stuck with AOC and Jasmine Crockett and Bernie Sanders because these two are in trouble. All right, I'm going to put you on hold. See, callers on hold, stand by. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida. Trump's so smart, isn't he? We'll be right back. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes.
All right, hold on. We'll be back in about 1 minute.
Okay.
All right. You there, Steve?
Yes, I am.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Steve Kane is here. I'm Brian Craig, and you want to take some calls, Steve?
Let's do it.
All right. It's MAGA Monday. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Chris. I'm calling from the great state of Maine.
Hey, Chris in Maine. What's up?
Hey, yesterday you were talking about the $30 million on the lawsuit. and I think come a solution. I think Nancy.
Slow down for a second for those that don't know what you're talking about, because this is very important. President Trump's Justice Department, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, have just made a settlement deal with the family of Ashley Babbitt because she was murdered by the Capitol Police that day on January 6th. And they were asking for $30 million or $35 million. The exact amount we don't know yet. And what a great thing the president did. So, yes, that's what you're referencing. Yes, what about it?
Yeah. First thing, it wouldn't have happened with Ashley Babbitt because Nancy Pelosi is the one that started this January 6th. She did not allow the 10,000 National Guard that Trump wanted. And I think she was totally behind this January 6th.
And I'll tell you, what a coincidence that on January 6th, Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who's a filmmaker, had her entire movie crew with her. What a coincidence. It's almost like they thought something might happen that a film crew might want to catch. But, Ashley Babbitt, there was that BLMer that was working for NBC News that was wearing the MAGA gear that filmed the murder of Ashley Babbitt. And the media don't show you the whole video. A couple of minutes, maybe even less, moments before she was murdered by that Capitol Police lieutenant, Ashley Babbitt was trying to stop the people from advancing. She went up to 2 Capitol Police and begged and pleaded with them to help her stop them, and they ignored her, and then they murdered her. All right, hey, listen, I appreciate the call, and you're right about everything that you said there. Now, but I'll tell you, Steve. We don't know how much the settlement is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the exact amount they were asking for. It may be even more. Could even be more. All right, let's go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Tom from Horseheads.
Tom from where?
Horseheads.
Boar's Head. Okay, that's in New York, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Tom. You're on the air.
Okay, love the show. I wanted to know if you heard about a company called Freight Technologies offering a bond offering to raise $20 million so that they can buy Trump coin in order to get with the president and get more beneficial terms for freight going from the United States to Mexico.
Well, that would be criminal, and certainly Trump wouldn't take part in any bribery.
It's happening, and on May 22nd.
Oh, wait, slow down a second. President Trump is accepting a bribe to help a company? That's news.
Well, you can read about it.
You can read about it. Listen, hold on a second. If President Trump took a bribe, we wouldn't have to read about it. The news would have breaking sirens going on. It'd be a national crisis. Yeah, well, why would a guy who's donating his presidential salary like he did in his first term, losing billions of dollars in income by being president, why would he take a bribe for some crypto? Is that even credible?
Why would he create a Trump coin right before he takes office?
The reason that he's into the crypto, okay, I'm glad you asked. You ready? Now, this doesn't fit into your manifestation wishing, but crypto is a big thing, okay, right? You agree with that? There's a huge movement in the United States and worldwide that are crypto people, right? You agree with that, caller?
Yeah, well, buying sports cards is...
No, hold on. Really no, we're not... sports. There was a time when sports cards were pretty valuable, right, Steve?
They still are.
And they still are, yeah. So crypto's a real thing. So President Trump, he did a couple things. He talked about this during the campaign. He went to the big crypto convention. Crypto is here to stay. He wants the crypto mining to take place inside the United States, not in some former Russian republic. Soviet Republic.
That's great.
So he's been very slow down. So he's been involved in the crypto space for that vote. So far as the meme coin, I think the meme coin is for Barron Trump. I think it's a business for Barron. President Trump used Barron a lot to reach out to Gen Z, and Gen Z is very much into crypto. And I think that the Trump meme coin is a business for Barron. Since you asked.
Yeah, well, I mean that may very well be, but
do you have a problem with that, sir?
Well, you guys had a problem with Hunter Biden.
Didn't answer my question with a question.
Well, the Bidens did take bribes.
Do you have a problem with that? Answer my question.
So Barron's going to benefit from Trump's presidency. Why can't Hunter Biden?
I ask you a simple question. Why is it you can't give me a straight answer?
Because he's a liberal.
Well,
that's I wanted to hear him say that.
If Joe Biden started a crypto coin right before he assumed office, you guys would be going crazy.
No, not at all. See, there's a difference. Why do you think? Okay, why do you think we give Biden a hard time for his family transactions and not the Trump family? Why do you think?
You're going to say because Trump's a businessman. Oh.
No, that's not what I'm going to say. I asked you, why do you think when the Bidens take money, we give them grief, but not the Trumps?
Is this going to be another question you don't answer, sir?
I don't know. Why don't you enlighten me?
Okay, the Trump family have a lot of businesses, right? They have a lot of businesses. Lara Trump's on Fox. Don Jr. is starting a new media business. They all have businesses. They have businesses that they make money for offering services or products, right? What business are the Bidens in? They take money. What business are they in?
And what business are you in, sir?
I'm not condoning.
No, okay, hold on. Caller. Trump sells hotel rooms, golf memberships, meme coins. What do the Bidens sell in exchange for money?
I have no idea, nor do I care.
Political favors.
Before you defend them, maybe you should look into it.
Yeah, can I tell him, Steve? Because he's never going to answer.
Sure.
The Bidens, like when Hunter got the diamond from the Chinese, what they're selling are political favors and deals. Those are bribes. The Trumps have businesses. The Bidens have no business. They just take bribes. They sell America.
That's the answer. That's the answer. Oh, he's a businessman.
Well, yes.
This Trump coin is cashing in directly on the Trump influence.
No.
To garner influence.
No, it's not. His family have all kinds of. As an example, okay, they have golf resorts. If somebody buys a membership, it doesn't mean they're buying influence. They're buying that membership. The Trumps have actual businesses. You give them money, you receive goods or services, right? It might be a bottle of Trump wine. I got a bunch of those, right? It might be a hotel stay at Trump Doral in Miami. The Bidens have no business. What they sell are America out, okay? Those are bribes with the Bidens. With the Trumps, there's no bribes. Now, what favors has Trump given to someone in exchange for money?
Oh, I can give you an example.
Give us one. Give us the most recent. What favor has Trump done as president for money? What bribe is he taking?
I have a perfect example. Just promise you won't interrupt me.
We're up against a break.
Wells Fargo was fined $8.5 million by the Biden administration. Wells Fargo went and gave $1 million to Trump's inauguration campaign. Wells Fargo then, Trump turned their $8.5 million fine into $150,000, and that's it. So
I'm missing the bribe. I'm missing the bribe. Do you understand? $1 million. Listen, $1 million to you or me is like a retirement fund. To President Trump, $1 million is cigars and a set of golf clubs.
Why did he turn an $8.5 million?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, but I do know this: that if Trump had taken a bribe, Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, Kristen Welker would have asked him about it during the Meet the Press interview over the weekend. Hey, listen, we gotta run for the break. Steve, I am wearing my first shirt that I've bought post weight loss. It's my Golf of America shirt, and it's a small. I haven't worn a small since the 90s, and I'm wearing a small today. It's absolutely amazing, and it fits perfectly. My stomach is flat. It's amazing. My wife and I have been married 29 years this year. Okay, I have the body I had 29 years ago. I have the body I had 29 years ago. My belly's gone. My waist is what it was then. It's absolutely amazing. I've lost over 35 pounds with Coastal Weight Loss Secret, and you can too. Now, if you want to lose less or more, no matter how much, no matter how little, they can help you. Give them a call. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300, and online, coastalweightlosssecret.com. We'll be right back. Yeah, I had to buy a new one. The other one was too big. Okay. Hey, William, hold on. Steve, you there? Steve, you there? Steve, you there? Hey, Steve, hold on. Steve, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to conference William in. Hold on. Okay, William, you there?
Yep.
Okay, stand by.
Hello?
Yep, stand by. We'll be back shortly.
Hello?
Yeah, 30 seconds. Stand by.
Hello?
You there, William?
Yes.
Okay, stand by. We are back, and it's time for our first gold and precious metals report of the week. On the line from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca, we have William Youngerman. William Youngerman, how the metals starting the week off?
Wow, the metals are starting a week off very strong, Brian, after last week's nice pullback, giving us a great buying opportunity for all the people that took advantage of it. The gold market, or the markets closed Friday, just up partially on gold, up 30 cents after trading in a range of $3,220 all the way up to $3,266, and then closing out the week at $3,239.60 the ounce, which, as I said, was up 30 cents. Silver was down 43 cents on the close on Friday at $31.96. Platinum lost $3, closing out the week at $9.61. And palladium gained $9, closing out the week at $9.37. This morning, we've seen gold trade in a range of $3,315 on the low last night, all the way up to $3,322. And right now, gold is at $3,320. That's up $80.40. $80.40 gain on gold this morning. Silver up 54 cents at $32.50 the ounce. Platinum up $9 at $970. And palladium up $3 at $940. So buying opportunities, as we said before, when we have these pullbacks, they don't necessarily last very long. The last pullback, of course, last week gave us a great buying opportunity with a really good pullback. But that being seen, it looks like we're heading back to test those old highs of $3,500, not so old highs of $3,500 on gold.
Yeah, and remember, William Youngerman doesn't just sell the metals; he buys the metals. And William, people just must be coming in with old broken jewelry and stuff and walking out in shock at how much all this old stuff is worth.
Yes, indeed. Even ourselves, when we throw it on the scale and we realize how much money that little trinket of gold or those pair of earrings or something that are broken is worth today, even we still kind of shake our heads. But the public has been very pleased with being able to get such high prices for jewelry that they're not wearing anymore, watches that they don't wear. Just bring it on in. We'll give you a free appraisal, and of course, for all Steve Kane listeners, and cash on the spot should you desire to sell it.
That's right. Now, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. He's located at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway, on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. You can also call, and remember, you can do your transactions through the mail and over the phone. You can call toll-free after 10 a.m., 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. And online, you can find both William Youngerman's phone number and address, WilliamYoungerman.com. That's WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, take care. All right, Steve, I'm going to go back to the phones. There's only one opening on the board where William Youngerman was. All right, okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Steve. Brian, it's Michael from Palm Beach Gardens. How about Guantanamo? You mentioned Alcatraz. Do you think Guantanamo would be another site for deporting some of these illegals?
Well, they've been taking them there for weeks.
Oh, already?
Yeah. Now, by the way, that last caller about Wells Fargo, that's not true. I'm looking at Snoops. Wells Fargo was fined tens of millions of dollars, and that story started from Robert Reich, the former labor secretary for President Clinton. So another liar. All right, hey, is that it, caller? Do you have something else?
Steve, I was with you on the cruise. Looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Brian. Have a great one. Thanks.
Yeah. By the way, our cruise next year, we're going to Antigua, among other places. It's going to be a great one, Steve. Let's see. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's me again from Horseheads.
It's one call per show, okay? One call per show. No, coming on. There's a lot of people want to talk to us. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, yeah, Brian. Sorry about that. Good morning. How you doing?
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Tom, Florida. That's where I'm calling from. How you doing? You all right?
Of course. Are you all right?
Are you that good?
Yeah. Are you all right?
Oh, brother. I'm sorry. Is that small, squeezing your chest to the point where you can't talk?
What?
Your small shirt that you fit into.
Well, I've lost like 38 pounds, man.
God bless you. Without doing a push-up, you lazy man, I can understand.
Why do push-ups when you have Coastal Weight Loss Secret? I mean, who needs push-ups?
Exercise.
None.
You need a little definition, Brian. You need a little blood flow. It's called cardiovascular. Get the brain flowing, the blood flowing to the brain.
And I can be like you?
I thought, actually, Brian, you'll never be like me because you're a brainwashed puppet. But that's okay. Steve, you're still good.
And straight, straight.
Oh. I know how me too, baby, but you're a little crooked. You when you're president. Listen, pal, you don't become the richest man, one of the richest men ever, and then make more Americans than ever poor. So it's not let's make America poor again. It's like make America rich again. Right?
Listen, another liberal caller, please check your spam folder.
Actually, no, hey.
Do you want me to hang up on you? Do you want me to hang up on you? Please, Tom, please check your spam folder for the up-to-date talking points. The Dow Jones on Friday closed up 564 points, and they had some record with the S&P 500 too. That was Friday. You've got last week's talking points.
It's funny. I remember during the campaign, all prices were going down and everything was good to go. The only thing I saw go down was people's morale in the stock market, and Trump blinked. So how are you going to tell me?
So you said that you're straight.
So what?
You said you're straight.
Brian, you see what I mean? What you do?
When's the last time you
see what you do?
What?
Man, listen, I'm going to hang up on you because you always change the narrative.
I was going to
Brian. Have a
ask
good day,
you.
Man. You're a schmuck.
Oh, he's afraid of the question. When's the
I'm not hanging up. I'm right here.
When's the last time you kissed a girl you're not related to?
Actually, Brian, I don't think your mom's alive anymore. So, what
Oh,
are
you
we gonna
can't.
do?
So you can't even think of one. Oh my goodness! All right, that's. He's one of those guys that the women of Florida have decided will be celibate for life. Oh my goodness!
What a charmer.
That's an easy question, right? I mean, All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Stephen, Brian. Good morning. It's JJ from Mass.
Hey, JJ. Oh my goodness.
Hey guys. I was just going to say, on the Trump coins, that's more of a collectible than it is. It's not like Bitcoin, but I wanted to focus mainly on, our politics going back, 35, 45, 50 years ago and where we are now. I don't look at, like Ireland, let's just say, stealing our movies or television shows, or Canada stealing our movie production or our auto manufacturing. I mean, our own country, our own politicians, Democrats, Republicans, the taxes, the policies, the unions, mainly big time with unions. I mean, we push them out of the country. So I don't look.
Well,
at
the
Canada
reason they do that is if they make a movie or television show in Canada, there's no residuals. The actors don't get residuals. They get residuals on productions in America, among other things. But what Trump has done with the 100% tax on foreign films, it's totally directed to take down Newsom. Because Newsom, that's a catch-22. He's either going to agree with Trump or come out with a position that is destroying the economy of his own state. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's sort of a tariff. I agree with, like, tariffs. That's a tool that Trump is used perfectly, in my opinion. And but when I just look at like the our country, our politicians, 35, 45 years ago, they both the Republicans and Democrats wanted illegal aliens here. One for votes and or social programs, the other one, for cheap labor. However, they both wanted it. While we were all yelling we didn't want it, they argued amongst themselves, but they were in agreement. Let's get them in here. That's all changed now.
That's right.
The politics of the past, of the corruption. We need good and
That's
competence and good.
That's right. Hey, listen, I gotta. This thing about the meme coin, Steve. Trump makes millions of dollars in his own merch. I buy shirts, sweaters, and hats from the official Trump store all the time. I don't hear anybody accusing him of doing anything wrong. Like I just bought a Trump 2028 hat from the official Trump store, right? And a Gulf of America hat from the Trump store. I don't hear people ever complaining about him making money on that. But the meme coin, it's just a talking point. Now, I want to tell you guys, it's Monday. If you're a little more active than you normally are over the weekend and you're feeling some aches and pains, go see Dr. Philip Appleton. Take advantage of the laser wave pain treatment. I was telling one of our listeners on the cruise, Gary, he had arthritis in his neck. Notice I said had. He went to Dr. Appleton, who treated him for his neck arthritis. It's gone. He's pain-free now. Just like Dr. Appleton rid me of arthritis in the dump button finger. He's rid me of pain 7 times. I've talked to so many of our listeners that are now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser wave pain treatment. With Dr. Appleton's laser wave pain treatment, there's no drugs, no surgery, no downtime, and no shots or injections. In fact, not only is the laser treatment 100% painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. Dr. Appleton performs all the treatments himself, and appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. Give Dr. Appleton a call and do what I've done 7 times, and countless people in this audience have done. Say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right, Steve, that's another one in the can. Monday's over. And, we'll be back tomorrow at 6. And I got to take great calls today. I appreciate it. The liberal talking points, a little weak. But, my Trump sweatshirts I have are from the official Trump store, and those are not cheap. They're made of very fine material that lasts and is very comfortable. Trump's got all but when you send him money, he's sending you a Trump hat, a Trump sweatshirt, right? A Trump T-shirt. With the Bidens, they don't have any goods or services to sell. All they sell are political favors, known as bribes. They sell America out. The big difference there. And to that liberal caller, that came as a shock to him. What are the Bidens selling for diamonds? Right. All right. Well, listen, guys, Monday's over. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Steve Kane has been here. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6 a.m. God bless Donald Trump. Well, listen, guys, everyone, thanks for joining. I'm going to take a call or two here in the post show. Let me just go. Take them. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Matthew from Oklahoma.
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Brian, I heard you talk about Ashley Babbitt, and I wanted to ask you, if you're armed and you have somebody, you're warning somebody to not come towards you, and they continue to come at you, crawling over people, going through a window, why is it not appropriate to assume that, that person can possibly be armed with a knife or something?
Well, Ashley Babbitt was unarmed. She was an unarmed woman who was in communication.
Nobody could know that until after the fact.
No, she was in communication with Capitol Police right there where she was standing before she was shot dead. Trying to get the police, trying to stop people from moving forward. And that cop put the gun through and shot her dead.
Okay, but how does that justify her continuing to go at an officer who is...
She didn't go at an officer.
Calm down and back off.
She didn't go after an officer. She was trying to get the officers. She was trying to work with the officers to stop people from advancing.
By crawling over people.
By blocking. She was trying to communicate with the officer on the other side of the door, and explain to him what she was doing, and then he shot her dead.
That's ridiculous, Brian. That's silly.
She was unarmed.
Come on now. Right. How could anybody know that? How could the officer...
Because her hands were empty.
Do you think when she had that conversation with the officers that she told them, "Hey, I'm unarmed. I don't have any knives, I don't have any,
she went up to two...
any type of weapons."
A couple of moments before she was murdered, she went up to two Capitol Police officers in that hallway who were standing up against the wall and begged and pleaded with them to help her stop people. They ignored her and just stood there with their hands in their pockets. And a few moments later, she was shot dead.
What is your source for that? And regardless,
what is my source for that? I know you asked a question. The BLM guy, I've forgotten his name. Somebody in the chat may remember, but there was a BLM guy who was fake MAGA, and he was wearing MAGA clothes from head to toe. He was working for NBC News and other media outlets, and he made a video recording. And in his video, you see Ashley Babbitt talking to those two police officers right before she was murdered. That's my source.
Okay, and you think that was relayed to the officer who was protecting the
what I know is she was an unarmed a woman and an unarmed American veteran who was trying to stop people from advancing in the hallway, and she was shot dead. Unarmed woman.
It doesn't seem like it when she's crawling over people, crawling through a window. But okay,
she was not crawling over people.
Ask you about tariffs, really quick.
Yeah, hold on one second. I got my phones are ringing off. Yeah, go ahead. What about tariffs?
Are tariffs not a way for the government to make money off their citizens? Doesn't it make politicians and government officials even richer, but by taxing their citizens essentially?
What President Trump is doing, okay, with the tariffs is, and he's talked about this a lot, his plan is to eliminate taxes on everyone who makes under $200,000 a year and fund the country on import taxes, on tariffs. Now, and for married couples, it'll be people that earn under $400,000. So that is about 98 to 99% of the American people will not be paying any taxes with the Trump tariff plan. That sounds pretty good to me.
But is it a national emergency to tariff, for example, movies to tariff
Yes.
cinema? Like,
Yes.
It's a national.
Yes.
It's a national
There's
emergency.
Hollywood,
Okay, wow.
California, Los Angeles, California, Hollywood has a major unemployment crisis. There's virtually no movie or television production in Hollywood. It's left for other countries. So what's happening is people are making movies, and American movies in other countries, like that Wizard of Oz movie, Wicked, they just made. They made that like in Bulgaria or something, okay? They're making American movies overseas and bringing them back here, and the people in America in the movie business aren't getting work, just the named actors. They're hiring like European stagehands and such. So President Trump is trying to make Hollywood great again and get the people of Hollywood back working. That's a pretty good thing.
You just mentioned earlier that it's a ploy to go against Gavin Newsom.
It's
So
that
I
too.
think
It
what you're
serves
saying right
serves
now
a
is
double
not-
purpose. It serves a.
It's not a national emergency though.
It's not an emergency. Do you work in the movie business?
I don't.
Then
but
it's
it
not an
doesn't
but it,
sound
well
like
if you
don't really
did
just explain.
if you were like a costume designer or a carpenter or a boom operator in Hollywood, it would be a crisis because you'd be out of work.
So you can only speak on a subject when you're an expert.
No,
or
you don't
involved
care.
in
No, you
that
just don't care
area.
because it doesn't affect you. You just don't care because
No,
it doesn't
I just don't think
affect
it's
you.
a national emergency. I just don't think
It's an
a national
emergency.
But-
No,
hang
listen.
on.
Listen, it's an emergency if you're out of work because of it.
So now the right cares about Hollywood and
President
and,
Trump
you know,
cares about it.
Hollywood
No, hold
has
on.
always been-
President Trump cares about Americans.
Sure. But now, does he care enough to tax them, or does he care? Because the tariffs are a tax on the people at the end of the day, and it makes the government money. It makes politicians money. But on
You
the
know,
back
last
of
month, tax-paying American, I had to send a check to the government for my taxes. You know, I sent it out the day before, April 14th, and it was a big check. I got to pay taxes. President Trump's telling me that he's going to eliminate my taxes, right, and have China and Canada and European nations pay taxes instead. That sounds like a pretty good deal. If I didn't have to pay those taxes, I might have bought a new car, or I might have made a renovation to my house, or maybe I would have bought some Trump meme coins or something. I don't know. Maybe I would have bought some gold from William Youngerman. But eliminating income tax is a big deal to those of us who pay taxes. Now, maybe you don't pay taxes.
But do you agree that it's a regressive tax on the consumer?
No.
How are you?
Because what
denying
Trump's doing with the tariffs is he's getting many companies to come back to the United States. Like he's trying to get the movie business back here. If you move your manufacturing to the United States, there's no tariff. And another thing it does, the tariffs, there'll be companies that don't move here that have tariffs and companies that don't. And it'll create competition in the marketplace. Another thing is this. We're already overtaxed on tariffs. A lot of these countries, like South Korea, would not exist if it wasn't for the United States. They're charging us 54% tariffs on our goods going into South Korea. We only tariff them 9%. So Trump wants their tariffs to get lowered. He's going to make our tariffs equal to what theirs are on us. So we'll actually probably be paying less money when it's all done.
Okay, well, can we stop with the talk about it creating jobs?
Of course it creates
you
jobs.
understand that there's more efficient ways of doing those jobs now. It's not going
Really?
to create nearly as many jobs. As,
No, and on Friday, the jobs numbers came out, and the job numbers were up on Friday, in large part because of what President Trump did. Like, as an example, President Trump is will be moving auto manufacturing back to the United States from Mexico and Canada. Some of the Japanese automakers are already building plants here or planning on doing so. Those create jobs. What do you do for work? What do you do for work?
I can't imagine.
What do you do for work?
What? I'm in remodeling. I work through insurance to gain.
What do you remodel?
Yeah, just flipping houses, pretty much.
You flip houses, okay?
I'm an apprentice, yeah.
Okay,
But
you're an apprentice?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting involved in
So you really don't make that. You really don't pay taxes. You don't make that much money. So none of these things matter to you.
No, we work through insurance.
You don't pay income taxes.
Yeah, of course we do. What do you mean?
No,
yeah.
you're an apprentice. You don't make that much money. You're not paying income. You're paying
I've
payroll
done
taxes.
Sales. I've done sales. It comes off through when we work through insurance. Even after the overhead and profit and everything.
How much in tax? How much did you have to send to the IRS last year?
I don't feel comfortable disclosing that.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, listen. I appreciate the call, but I got some other people on hold. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Jack again. How's it going? Your whole music is horrible, man.
Well, that's okay. Well, deal with it. That's what it is.
Unfortunately, I didn't know what you were talking about in the last 10 minutes because I was on hold.
Well, excuse me.
No, you're okay. It's not your fault. So you know that Hollywood's been filming films overseas since the 20s and predominantly in the 50s and 60s, correct?
No, not like now. No, not like now. No, in the 50s and no, not in the 50s and 60s.
Wait.
No, not like now. Now Hollywood is closed down. They're not making things. And
my point.
Go ahead.
My point, Brian. It actually helps the American economy by having films be made in other countries because it gets other people from around the world to watch films that were produced in America. For example, you may film, say, the latest Mission Impossible film overseas. Well, other people will spend their money to see that movie. It's kind of like what the NFL is doing right now.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Like see what I mean? Trump's so smart. He's got these liberals trying to screw Hollywood. Wicked, all right? Yeah. This new movie, Wicked. Slow down. This new movie, Wicked, was made overseas somewhere. That's a high-end production. That people in Hollywood, there are highly skilled people. I'm not talking about the actors because they fly the American actors where they film, but the people that are set designers, costumers, people that are carpenters that build movie sets, electricians that do the electricity, and the list goes on. Hair people, makeup people. There's thousands and tens of thousands out of work in America because these productions have moved to other countries. Like many other things in our country, the production of cars has moved to other countries.
Correct. It's very incorrect, Brian. A lot of the movies that they produce may be filmed overseas, but a lot of other components of those films are produced here in the United States.
Yeah, but the regular working people, like the union people on a movie set, they're not working on Wicked. They have European people working on Wicked. Okay? So the Hollywood union workers that are regular working people are out of work. So it's amazing to me that I'm hearing from multiple liberals today that are arguing to keep movies produced overseas and not in Hollywood where American movie people can work. I mean, you guys listen to yourselves?
I'm arguing that we need the global economy to help the United States. We need people from around the world.
The golden age of Hollywood is when movies were made here and people still around the world watch them. I mean, how many people know that Wicked was not made in the United States?
Told you. Brian, we've been producing movies overseas since the 20s and 30s.
Not really. No, not really. Back in that era, I know a lot about movies. I know a lot about. Back in that era, they didn't have the technology. So what they would. Excuse me, I'm speaking.
Check yourself there, Brian.
What they would do in the past. I give you an example. What's the movie? What's the famous movie? Roman Holiday. Okay, some of Roman Holiday was filmed in Rome, but a lot of it was filmed in sound stages in Hollywood too. Okay, movies like that.
Where do you draw the line? So let's.
Well, I draw the line is American. So much of American industry has moved overseas. Movie industry, TV, our manufacturing. No, it's not.
Because the world runs better together.
You keep arguing. Keep arguing. Okay, on that. That's great. I hope Gavin Newsom takes your position. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're
Hi, Brian. My name's Matthew. I'm calling from Florida.
Hey, Matthew.
How's it going? I just wanted to provide something to educate one of your previous callers about Ashley Babbitt. And he was saying that it was justified for the cop to do that, which it wasn't. And I want him to know that he should look up something called rules of engagement for cops.
Yes.
That might educate him on what they're allowed to do. And the cops are not allowed to take someone's life unless they pose an immediate threat to their life or anyone else. And she was not an immediate threat to anybody. And Capitol Police are held to a higher standard than any other cops because they're the top of the line who are supposed to protect our important politicians. They're supposed to know every rules in and out. But when they took her life, he violated the rules of engagement. She was no threat to anybody. So
no, you're right.
I want him to, he should look that up so he understands next time he brings this up to somebody, he knows it wasn't a justified shooting at all.
And it's not easy to find the full Ashley Babbitt video because the media have suppressed it. But if you spend the time and search for it, you'll see her pleading with the Capitol Police right before she was killed to try to get them to stop what was going on. Yeah. I don't seek it out because it's hard for me to watch. I don't want to watch a woman be murdered, you know. But you guys, if you've not seen the full video, go and seek it out.
Exactly. And yes, if they look up the rules of engagement for police officers, they'll read it and understand that cops are not allowed to take someone's life unless they're an immediate threat. And if they look at that video, they'll see 100% she was no threat to anybody whatsoever. And if you think that, you're just being biased or you're uneducated to what it means to be a threat.
Yeah.
So I just wish people would stop spreading around that because that was an innocent life that was taken, and they would not feel the same way if it was someone they knew or loved, and they would be livid if it was someone they loved.
Yeah.
And
remember, she was unarmed.
Exactly. And that's part of the rules of engagement. You know, most times you have to be armed with something that would be a dangerous threat towards someone.
Correct.
And she was just standing there. I saw the video myself when it first happened because it was all over the place before they suppressed it. And she was just standing there like she was not hurting anybody. She wasn't a threat towards anybody. She had no weapons. She was just there.
An unarmed woman and an American veteran.
Exactly, a veteran at that. That's true. And she served our country, and then they want to speak this way about people who.
Well, I think she's still serving our country. I think Ashley Babbitt's memory serves our country.
That's a great point. Yes, that is true. I didn't look at it that way. She is. She's helping us spread the word and about the truth, and that's right.
Hey, listen, thank you for the call.
Thank you.
All right, take care. You know, that last caller on Hollywood. See, this is Trump. He's so smart, isn't he? You know, he put who did he put in that committee? Mel Gibson, and there was another actor that he has on his Hollywood ambassadors. And you hear we've had a couple of liberals today argue against bringing movie making back to Hollywood. And that's the catch-22 for Hollywood. You know, President Trump told Christian Welker he's president for all Americans. And this is an example of it. Well, listen, everyone, thanks for watching. My name's Brian, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm here every day, every morning, Monday through Friday. I'm here live streaming, taking live calls. I'm on a bunch of FM radio stations. I host a morning show that I co-host with Steve Kane, who was on earlier. And when I'm on the radio, I live stream here on YouTube. And the calls you hear, some are people watching on YouTube, and some are people listening on the radio or on an online streaming platform that carries our radio station. And just welcome to the community. This is the most pro-MAGA Donald Trump place you'll find anywhere. And this is where MAGA comes to talk. My name is Brian Craig. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.